Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to our special half-year review of 2025. My name is Sean Wasker. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. It is July, which means that the first 6 months of 2025 has come and gone, which means it is now time for us to develop or to give you guys our best, worst, surprising, and most disappointing films of the year so far. In case you guys have not watched the June review, Mass Review Dump, I'm fighting a summer cold, so bear with me with my voice during this. I'm going to try to make it through this without any complications or cough fits or anything like that. So if you guys are expecting me to go long and deep into these reviews, my brain probably still will make me do it. But if you're like, well, Sean's not that talkative today, this is why. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Brian, how are you feeling about 2025 this year so far? Because I know with 2023, when we shot this, we were like, it's the year of meh. And 2024 was, everything's fine, but nothing really, big. How are you feeling with 2025 so far?
I feel like 2025 has been a strong year so far. I mean, not like the strongest, but it's I think been an improvement over the previous years, because I think that I didn't feel like I was scraping to fill my top 10. I feel like everything belongs in my top 10 for now. There's several that will not be in there in the end of the year, but I think I have a respectable top 10. I think that my worst, I was scraping on worst, which says a good thing about the year.
We were also scraping on that last year too.
Yeah, but it also says a lot that my new mindset of I don't need to see everything. So a lot of stuff, if it looks like shit, I don't go see it, and therefore it doesn't make my worst list because I didn't watch it. But then there's also the thing that a lot of movies that we think we might not like, we will wait till we watch them at home. We don't rush out to see them in theaters, which is why the first half of the year I think is slow. But then once those things get released at home, we watch them. In the second half of the year, we have a lot more to pick from by the end of the year.
Which is also why we started to do the end of the month review dumps and not so much the weekly stuff, because we're not rushing out to see everything as much as we used to do. We're kind of just accumulating it and then just dumping it at the end of the month.
Yeah, except for the big one. Obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's been pretty strong, although I think a lot of the heavy hitters are still to come. So we'll see where everything shakes out at the end.
Yeah, I would say for me, what's your final, not your final, but where's your movie tally at for the year so far? How many movies have you seen?
For 2025 releases, I have, let me see. I have to make some adjustments here. I have 76 movies I've seen, plus 3 documentaries. I don't really lump them in with the same, plus 3 that I watched partially and bailed on.
So you're around 80. Let's just say 80.
Yeah, 76 to 80. Yeah.
I am at 64, with one of them being a documentary. Brian always watches more than me, so that's just always been the thing. So it's not by the end of the year, like he's only got like 12 on me right now. He's probably going to be 20 plus on me or 30 plus on me by the year, because he watches a lot of straight streaming stuff that I don't. But I would say for me,
I watch a lot of crap, so I can tell him about the few good ones he should watch.
Well, which is funny because you say you're avoiding more things, yet you're still watching so much more.
Well, I avoid things that I know look bad, but there's a lot of stuff that's like, this could go either way, and I watch it, and 2/3 of it probably isn't great, and 1/3 of it's like, hey, I'm glad I took a chance on that.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of movies on my list that Brian hasn't seen.
Oh yeah, the big releases. So you've seen a lot of big ones that I haven't seen. Yeah,
so it's things like that where it's like, yeah, he's watched so much more than me, but he's also hasn't watched everything that I've watched, and vice versa. So
I will say one thing that's changed for me in the past several years is I used to see like all the kids movies because I had kids, but they're like 16 and 19 now, so it's like I don't rush out to see Leo and things like this. I'm like, okay, I don't need to see it.
Yeah, for me, for 2025, I feel that it's been also a very strong year. But I will say that since May, it's become super strong. I would say like my top 10, I think only one movie in my top 10 has not been out in the last 2 months, which says a lot for these last 2 months. It's been a really, really good last 2 months, which is the whole point. You want that. You want the summer season to be strong, and I feel like the summer season has been strong. I already have one 5-star movie for the year. Usually that doesn't happen near the end of the year. And I already got one 5-star film. I've got 3 4.5s, and I maybe have 1, 2 tops by halfway through the year. So definitely a lot stronger. But I've also seen a lot of bad movies. Now, I did have a top 10, but Brian did talk me down to 6 movies because he doesn't have as many worst movies as I do, because he hasn't been watching that many bad stuff. So instead of a top 10 worst, I'm only going to have 5 with an honorable mention. Now, by year's end, I'll have legit top 10, and Brian will have a legit top 10. Everything else,
I list my 10 bottom movies on my list, but I'd be talking about a lot of stuff that I don't really consider worst. It just happens.
Yeah, I like my number 7 worst is a 2-star film, and it's like that's not good, but it doesn't mean worst at the same time. My worst are all 1.5s and below for me. And even my worst is still at a star. No half stars yet this year. Let's hope it stays that way. I'd rather not have a half-star movie that I had to watch in 2025. But we decided to get to start on a more positive note to start the half-year review. So we're going to go with most surprising. These are movies that we thoroughly enjoyed, that we either A, knew nothing about when they came out, or B, did not have the highest expectations for, and they ended up surprising us in a way that we're like, that was actually really fucking good, and I want to talk about it. So they're not going to be, like, for me, my surprising are not going to be in my best list. Like, I make a rule so I can talk about more movies that if you're in my best or worst, you're not going to be in my surprising or disappointed. Brian doesn't have that rule. But do you have any in your surprising that's also in your best?
There are 2 that overlap.
Okay. So do you want to talk about them now, or do you want to like just say them and then talk about them later?
Well, that would spoil which ones are in the top 10, wouldn't it?
Well, you don't know where they're at in the top 10.
No. I'll go ahead and list them when we talk about them now. That's fine.
Okay, so let's go ahead with most surprising. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I'll say no. I have one that I almost put as an honorable mention, but I want to wait until I see it in English.
Is it the one you were talking about off camera?
It is the one I talked about earlier.
Yeah, guys, you're not missing anything. So it's a total Brian comedy, and I don't know if we can even get away with talking about it right now without doing some kind of flag. So if it sticks around by the end of the year.
So no honorable mentions for me. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and start off?
I'm going to put my surprises are in no particular order, by the way.
Same. My surprises and disappointings are not in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about them. It's not number 1 most disappointing or anything like that. It's just 5.
So first I'll just throw out one that we just talked about. If you watched our other video, and that's Deep Cover. This is the Amazon Prime film with Bryce Dallas Howard, Orlando Bloom, and I already forgot his name.
Nick Mohammed.
It's a movie. It's a fun comedy, a throwback to kind of those old 90s, early 2000s mid-budget comedies that they just don't make anymore. Orlando Bloom's having a blast in it. I love Bryce Dallas Howard. It's just a lot of fun, and for me, it was one of my favorite surprises of the year so far because it came out of nowhere. Didn't know this movie was being made. Didn't know this movie was coming out until a few weeks before it came out. I saw some kind of. I think I saw a listing when I was looking for the year's releases, like at the beginning of the year when I do it most anticipated. I think I saw the name of it, had no idea what it was, but then once they dropped a trailer for it, I'm like, I'm going to check this out, and I ended up really very much enjoying it, and so I'm glad I did, and I want more people to go watch this movie. So check out Deep Cover, Amazon Prime.
Just because I'm seeing myself on camera, guys, if you're wondering what I'm doing with my mouth, I have a cough drop in here. I'm just getting my mouth before Brian goes gutter. I'm just keeping my mouth wet so that way I can talk. I have a. Well,
you already talked earlier in the video about how you can't go long and deep, so just saying.
Shut the fuck up. Because I'm looking at myself, I'm like, they're probably wondering what the fuck I'm doing. I got a cough drop in, guys. But yeah, Deep Cover was also one of my surprising that we were going to talk about. For all the same reasons that Brian said, I love these 3 leads in the film: Bryce Dallas Howard, Orlando Bloom, Nick Mohammed. They have great chemistry together. Orlando Bloom is having so much fucking fun with this role, which makes me have fun watching it. And like I said, it's an Amazon Prime movie. We didn't know about this movie until we saw the trailer, a couple weeks before it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I even gave it a chance was because of Orlando Bloom in the trailer. And I'm glad that what we got in the trailer wasn't just what we got in the movie. We got more of him in the movie. It's a lot of fun. I would love to see these guys continue and do another movie together as these three characters because I think they had an enjoyable time and we had an enjoyable time watching them. And this is one of those movies that's on Prime that you guys should definitely check out and just have fun with. I'm not saying you guys are going to be blown over the moon by it, but I think you guys will have an enjoyable time, mainly because of Orlando Bloom. But like I said, the other two, Bryce Dallas Howard and Nuke Muhammad, and even Sean Bean to a point, and Patty Constantine. Yeah, Constantine. It's a great cast. It's a fun cast. But yeah, it's on Prime. You should definitely check it out. So we both did one right there because we both had the same one. So why don't you go with the next one?
For my next one, I will talk about The Gorge. The Gorge, another streaming movie. This one on Apple TV Plus, I believe. Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. This is another one. I don't even think I'd heard of this movie until we saw a trailer for it. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck is this movie? Because it's from Scott Derrickson. Did he direct it or just produce it?
I'll check while you're talking.
But yeah, Scott Derrickson. Yeah, he did direct it. It's this sci-fi thing. What all we really knew about it was, he's on one side of this gorge, she's on the other. They've been tasked with, basically monitoring, watching this gorge with this big valley
basically,
between
don't
them.
let anything come out of this fucking gorge.
Don't let anything come out. But that's basically all we know about it from the trailers, things like that. And I think that I really liked this movie when it was more about kind of like they were on the opposite side. They're trying to communicate. And at one point, he does cross and they get to meet each other. I loved the characters that they set up. They spent a good amount of time setting up the characters and kind of their, I don't know if you want to call it relationship, but kind of their interactions. And that was almost kind of my favorite part of the movie. And then, once the shit starts, going down and end up going down in the gorge and it becomes more of a, sci-fi horror kind of thing. It's still fun. It feels more like a video game once you get down in there. But I still enjoyed it. But I think it's the character moments early on are what I like the most about it. And the two of them I thought did a great job, especially Anya Taylor-Joy. I really liked her in this movie. Sigourney Weaver pops up in this movie in kind of a small part. Which kind of seems to be what she does now. They just use her.
That's kind of her norm now.
It's like she doesn't star in many movies anymore. So instead, any sci-fi movie that wants to add some prestige and credibility, well, just bring in Sigourney Weaver for the last 10 minutes. That's what we all do. Cabin in the Woods and Paul and this and that.
It's 100% her role now. It works. It works.
It works. No, she's good. And I'm not saying that she was there for no reason. I'm just saying it seems to be her thing. But yeah, this definitely landed on my surprises. Again, not because of low expectations, just because of no expectations, because we didn't know it existed.
I was going to talk about this later as an honorable mention for my best of the year, so I'll just go ahead and knock it out right now. Yeah, same reasons for you. This is one of those movies that, as soon as the trailer came out, I was like, I think I even told her, I go, this is either going to be fucking awesome or this is going to suck so bad. But
yeah, because it makes you think with these people involved, why is this going straight to Apple? Because again, this is Apple, and who does? Apple did F1, for instance, and they've done a lot of other movies they released in theaters. They're not even put this in theaters. That doesn't bode well. But
yeah, but once again, Miles Teller, Anya Taylor-Joy, we both like. Scott Derrickson is a very good and competent horror director. But yeah, I loved the world that was built through this, and I also really loved the chemistry building between the two. Up to that point, but I agree. Once it does drop down into the gorge, which that's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. We're giving that away to you guys. It does become very video gamey, government conspiracy, oh man, you guys had something. You guys went right to the old cliche, been there, done that.
Survival horror,
yeah, and it's not bad. It was just more like, oh, really? You guys decided just to go the cliche route? Why? Don't do that. But for what we got of the movie, though, it was a very fun ride. I think everyone brings their A game through it. It was more just a kind of a third act script that just didn't work as well as the first two acts. But it still looks great. Everything's fun about the movie. It was in my top 10 for, I think, until few weeks back when it finally got dropped out. That's why it's in my honorable mention. I think it's my number 12 on the year right now. So it just got knocked out within the last couple of weeks. But yeah,
it's my 11 right now. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, it's right at the number 12 spot for me.
And I will say, I also this movie taught me that my favorite Anya Taylor-Joy is with short dark hair, not the long blonde. Just saying, she looks hot.
I think Anya always looks beautiful, but yeah, she the dark hair works for her. I don't recall seeing her except for maybe like Queen's Gambit in any other hair color but blonde. But yeah, my next surprising one. I don't know if this one's on yours or not. I think I liked it more than you. And that is Dangerous Animals.
I did not put that in mind.
Okay. This is one of those that like, oh, it's a Shudder movie. And it's like, okay, like Shudder, they come out with like 150 horror movies a year. Maybe 3 of them are worth checking out. And this one grabbed my attention. You have a guy played by Jai Courtney, who is an actor that I think Brian and I both want to like, but he just does all the wrong roles. And it's one of those things where it's like when he finally figures it out, which I think he did in this movie, I think Jai Courtney could go far.
Yeah, I think with Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad, and then this, he's kind of found where he should be. You know,
he just doesn't get enough time as Captain Boomerang for us to really fully appreciate him in Captain Boomerang. I think if they wouldn't have killed him off in the first 10 minutes of the other Suicide Squad movie, I would have really loved to have watched him work with that crew. I would have loved
with the James Gunn script. Oh hell yeah!
Yes, I would have loved to see what he done with James Gunn's script. But I've been a fan of him since Spartacus. But Jai Courtney's just been one of those actors who's like, dude, you just make all the wrong moves. And in this movie, he plays this guy who basically takes people out to sea and puts them in a shark cage so they can swim with the sharks. But you realize that, oh no, he's a serial killer. And he basically kidnaps these people and then dunks them in the water so the sharks can eat them and then videotapes it. Very much like he does very much like a Buffalo Bill-esque kind of role. And Jai Courtney is he's so fucking good. He's so good in this movie. And then you have, oh God, I'm blanking on her name.
Ashley Harrison.
Yes, Hassie Harrison. Most people know her from Yellowstone. I know her from Tacoma FD. I think she's fine in the film, even though Brian calls her Jennifer Lawrence Light or Timu Jennifer Lawrence.
She's totally she totally reminds me of Jennifer Lawrence. And my bigger problem was though that from the very first scene they make her character unlikable, so I kind of wanted her to die. Just saying.
But I think the movie, for what it is, which is I consider it a C movie Shudder film. It's actually, I think, pretty decent. Could they have done more? Could they have done more with the sharks? Yes. Could they have done less of the escape, get captured again, escape, get captured again? Yes.
Too many times. Yeah.
Could they have done a better third lead with the male actor? Because I wasn't a fan of him. Yes. But the concept of the film with Jai Courtney's presence, this is a very intriguingly good Shudder movie that was maybe 2 notches below being something that's like, y'all motherfuckers need to check this out. And it's actually got, I think, an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm not the only person that's noticing that this is actually a solid movie. It could have been really, really fucking good. It's a really good movie had it fixed those things. But I was thoroughly impressed and surprised with how much I actually enjoyed the journey that we got on with this. And I would talk this up to anybody who was willing to check this out. But yeah. What was your next one?
My next one is a movie called Neighborhood Watch. This is a movie went straight to VOD, I believe. I don't think it got any kind of theatrical release. It stars Jack Quaid and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Jack Quaid, Melon Ackerman. Jack Quaid's a mentally ill guy who thinks he witnesses his abduction, but the police don't believe him because he's always been seeing things. He's not quite there. He's on medication. So he turns to his next door neighbor, who is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he's a retired security guard. He kind of always wanted to be a cop. But he basically wants to help him find this missing woman that he thinks he saw get abducted. And it becomes kind of a mystery, kind of a crime film. There's also, though, there's some good, it's definitely not a comedy, but there's definitely kind of some good moments of comedy, especially in the interaction between Jeffrey Dean Morgan, which if you've ever seen Jeffrey Dean Morgan in anything, he's kind of playing the same character. He's definitely got that same kind of swagger to him, the same kind of, condescension, but he also, even when he's being an asshole, he's just amusing as hell. He just has that personality.
He has that lean, like, you just need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. He's basically doing the same thing here, but I think that him and Jack Quaid just worked really well together, and I think that the chemistry between them as the leads was really good. I think the story was interesting. It didn't make my like top 10 of the year or anything like that, but it's a movie that I noticed early on, like going into this year, based on the cast alone. But so many of those turn out to be like, especially if they don't get theatrically released. But this is actually one that I thought lived up to it, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, Jack Quaid is definitely having a year between this and Novocaine and Companion. I think he's got at least one more movie coming out this year too, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a Guy Ritchie one, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is definitely a Jack Quaid year. I thought this movie was fine. I agree with you. I really enjoyed the chemistry between Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Jack Quaid, and of course, I will watch anything with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I love him, and I want him to get even bigger. And I feel like I feel like it's not because he hasn't had the opportunities. I almost feel like he doesn't want to get as big.
I feel like he's kind of comfortable where he is.
Yeah, I feel like he's fine being Negan for Walking Dead, and he doesn't really want to do, like, he'll do things, but I don't think he wants to get to that higher up thing. I think he wants to be able to enjoy his life and all that stuff, and still be able to do movies, but not have it like be always working all the fucking time, which I can respect that. But I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I feel like him and Jack Quaid are great in the movie. The movie itself, I think, is fine. I wasn't like super crazy about it, but I love the journey that these two went on. Mm-hmm. And I would, I think you even said like you would love to watch them continue this. Kind of like how I feel with Deep Cover is that you would watch another movie with those two again as those characters.
Oh yeah, hell, make a series of these two solving crimes. I'm all for
it. Yeah, like I said, it's. I won't say it's enjoyable because it's not like, oh, this is so much fun, but it's like I really loved the story that these two had. Yeah, it was pretty solid. My number 3 is a movie that I felt like I wasn't gonna like because Brian did not sell me on it because he was like, it's okay. I don't really care about it, but I watched it and I had a blast with this, and that's Borderline.
Oh yeah,
I had so much fun with this movie. Oh God, his son's name, Nicholson. Ray Nicholson. Ray Nicholson. Everyone knows Jack Nicholson's kid. Obviously, he popped up in Smile 2 last year, which he basically just had 2-3 scenes in, and then he was also in Novocaine with Jack Quaid earlier this year, which he was fine in. This one with Samara Weaving, he basically plays this this stalker of she's a musician, right? Yeah, she's a musician.
Yeah, pop star.
Yeah, she's a pop star, and he's basically the stalker of her. And he basically him and his like I think 2 friends basically break into her house, and he's trying to force her to marry him. And then like Eric Dane is like her head of security. This movie lives and dies off of Ray Nicholson's performance. And I was so captivated by his performance in this movie because you can see the touches of Jack in him. And I thoroughly had a blast watching Ray Nicholson in this role. Every scene just felt like something not necessarily new, but like I was immediately just like, every time Ray's on screen, I'm just like, I'm so fucking in on this. Not to mention that I can't remember her name, but there was a French actress. This is bug flying on my camera view every time I'm trying to talk. There's this
it's Chris Evans' wife, actually.
Is that Chris Evans' wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved her in this. And we have a new award coming out at the end of the year. It's a favorite moment of the year. There's a moment with her and Samara Weaving, and you know exactly the scene I'm talking about because I'm not going to go any further into it. But I think I paused the movie and rewound and watched that scene like 3 times because it was just such a off the rails awesome scene that I was like, I could hate this whole movie, which I don't, but I loved this scene so fucking much. And it's just a crazy ass ride. You never know where the movie's going to go. Just when you think it's going to go one way, Ray Nicholson goes and takes it the other way. And you're just like, if his character did not earn this would be the dumbest fucking movie ever. But Ray Nicholson is so committed to this that I couldn't help but just love this movie and what he did. And Samara Weaving's great. She's great and everything. But yeah, I had a blast with Borderland. I know you are Borderline. I know you weren't as big of a fan, but yeah, I
Borderline.
this movie. What's
So
that?
you're saying I was borderline on Borderline? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're Borderland. You're Borderline with
No, I don't feel. I mean, I didn't like love the movie, but it's I gave it 3.5 stars. It's kind of there's like my top 10, and then there's like this glut from like 11 to 25, which are kind of like they're all interchangeable. I don't know where to rank them. And it's this is part of that group. Because I enjoyed this movie. It's mainly because of the two leads. I mean, Samara Weaving's in a little bit of danger of being typecast as a scream queen. Which the only bad thing about that is she has this one scream she does, which is kind of really annoying sound to it. But
it's just a certain pitch.
She always says that thing. But Ray Nicholson, again, yeah, this is a guy who's clearly having a blast. It's funny because when I look at Ray Nicholson, I see a weird cross between Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio. He's got this weird look to him. It's kind of those two people merged together somehow.
I feel like if he goes away from these kinds of roles, which are very Jack, and he does something different, he could jump up quite a bit. But he's so like you're Jack's boy, and then he does these roles.
That's it. It's like I'm afraid he's going to get typecast in this kind of role. But
at least he's good
at the
at
same
it.
time, it's like if he tries to do something that's not this kind of role, people can be like, "Oh no, we want you to be like Jack," you know. And so I don't know if he'll be able to break out. I think that choosing his next few projects is going to be crucial in deciding where his career goes.
I mean, but he's good at it though.
Yeah, so far, and I don't see anything really listed yet that he's signed on for that's not out yet. But yeah, this essentially my first introduction to him as a lead. Like you said, he appeared in Smile, he appeared in some other stuff like Promising Young Woman and stuff like that. This is the first time I kind of seen him as like a main character. I enjoyed him in this. I did enjoy this movie. Yeah, I don't know what I did give me the impression I didn't like it because I did.
You said that you were annoyed by Ray.
Annoyed by him?
Oh. I think it's more or less the typecasting thing. I think you were just like, it's like, yeah, Ray Nicholson just doesn't really do much for me, and he's just like he tries so much to be like Jack that just doesn't. He's just, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I still want to watch it though.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. It's been almost 4 months since I watched it, so I couldn't tell.
All right. So what was your next one?
Next I will go with I have a few I'm debating about. You know, I'm going to go with one that might be on yours as well. And that's Fight or Flight.
That was going to be my last one I was going to talk about, but yeah.
There's another movie that actually this one did get a theatrical release. But it was actually made but it was actually made by Sky Media, which is essentially a cable channel over in the UK. So I mean that doesn't bode well. When you see people making movies for these tiny little like a cable company, that's like somebody making a movie for Spectrum, you know.
Or it's like when you get a Roku TV movie. It's like
Like, really? But then Roku will go throw something that's like weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get weird.
But I mean, it's Josh Hartnett, who obviously we said we enjoyed seeing. I didn't love anything about the movie, but I loved seeing Josh Hartnett back in a major role in Trap. And this one looked like Bullet Plane. It looked like Bullet Train on a plane, so it didn't look particularly original, but I thought it still looked fun. I'll check it out. And it was. It's clearly lower budget than Bullet Train. It's you know, there's some CGI blood spatter, and the things aren't done on quite the same scale as far as the stunts and that. But it definitely has the same kind of feel to it, which is kind of a bunch of zany assassins, and everybody's kind of going after him. And I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, mostly because of Josh Hartnett. But I mean, the rest of the cast I thought did fine. Although there aren't really a whole lot of other major characters. It's kind of the one flight attendant who's helping him out, which is a whole story there I won't get into. But yeah, this was a surprise. Again, this seems to be the theme of my surprises. Is more not so much movies that surprised me because of expectations, but because I didn't know they were coming out. And this is one, obviously, there's a reason you didn't know it's coming out because it's such a small thing put out by a small production company for a cable channel, essentially. But I enjoyed it. And again, it's not going to make my top 10, but it was fun.
Yeah, this definitely was going to be the last one I was going to talk about. Fight or Flight was one, like you said, we both saw the trailer and we're both like, this is just Bullet Train on a plane, but it's Josh Hartnett. Okay, I'm invested to check this out. They were like, man, but are we going to be able to find it? Because we didn't know it was going to get a theatrical release and all this stuff. We found it, and it was so much fun for what it is. And like I said, if you go in knowing Like much like Dangerous Animals and even Borderline, you're not going in expecting this to be Bullet Train. It doesn't have the same people behind it. But if you go with like Bullet Train Light with Josh Hartnett, this is a lot of fun. The fight choreography is decent in it, especially because you don't think of Josh Hartnett as like a fucking fighter by any means. But it's a lot
That's
of
the thing
fun.
about this movie. I thought he was kind of a revelation both in that, and that's also just the fact that he showed more personality in this movie than I've seen him show maybe ever. Because he's always been kind of like a very kind of mellow kind of dude for the most part. And it's like this one, he's like, so
Yeah, it is a lot of fun watching him do this. And he also has an episode or two of The Bear, this last season of The Bear that just came out, which he was great in. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It doesn't go as crazy as Bullet Train, and it doesn't fucking need to be. It just needs to do what it's doing. And I think for a tight knit story, for what it does, I think it does it very well. But if you try to do a compare and contrast to Bullet Train, it's gonna fail. But for what it does, like kind of like a smaller budget version of that on a plane, it exceeds expectations because we went into it just like, all right, let's see how bad this is. It's like, you know what? That was fun. That was fun. I'm happy. And now they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna release this in theaters. And we're like, yes. Here's hoping people can gravitate towards this because this deserves to have people like it and help Josh Hartnett elevate to the next level again, have that resurgence that he's had. But yeah, this one's a lot of fun. It's definitely an enjoyable one, and it's already on streaming now. I think if you guys like Bullet Train, you guys will like this, or if you like Josh Hartnett, you'll like this. Yeah. All right. What was your next one, or is it your last one?
well, I have one left. You still have to go.
Yeah, I have one left. We both have one left.
My last one, I won't even talk about much now, because it's going to be in my best of list, and that's Predator: Killer of Killers. Huge surprise. This is one I knew was coming out. It's an animated film. You never know how that's going to go. So you've seen like like the Terminator, the anime thing. They've done like some X-Men anime stuff, and this isn't really anime. It's animation, but it's not necessarily anime. So this is what I knew was coming out, and I knew Jan Trachtenberg was still directing it, but I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like a cash in. Like they want to have something, but they don't feel confident enough to make it a full movie, so they make it animated. Really enjoyed this. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I will definitely be talking about this later as well. My last surprising is a movie that I heard about, saw a trailer for, and then had to wait like 4 months after it was released in theaters to finally watch because it was nowhere near me, and I've had to wait for it to go to streaming, which took forever. You notice that it's always the movies that you want to see that are not big names. It takes forever to go to streaming, whereas like the big movies, like, oh, it's out in 3 weeks. It's like, why the fuck was this one not out in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Queen of the Ring. I am very, very tough on wrestling movies, obviously for the reason you guys all know. There's very few pro wrestling films that I actually enjoy. And I think Queen of the Ring, while the wrestling in it is not great, but it's also taking place in like the 1940s and 50s and stuff like that. So the wrestling isn't that great back then either. If you guys ever go back and watch old school wrestling, there's not a whole lot to it. But I think the story that they tell in this, I think, is very well done. I think Emily Bett Rickards, who I really only know her from Arrow on the CW, I think she does a great job in this as Mildred Millie Burke. Josh Lucas does a great job just being this epic prick in Billy Wolf. Tyler Posey, who I've loved since Teen Wolf, I think he's solid in the film as well. Walton Goggins has a small role in this, which I love anything Walton Goggins. Also, you got some pro wrestlers in this movie as well. I think they're all decent in the film. I think it does a great job of telling you the struggles and the hardship it took for women to be pro wrestlers back in the early days. And it's not as big of a struggle now, but it's still a struggle by today's standards. But back then, it was illegal for women to pro wrestle. And so they could only do it at like circuses and stuff like that. And from going from that to eventually becoming, mainstream. And even then, it's still very, very small market back then. I think they did a really good job of telling that story and portraying it. I think everyone, while it's not a huge cast, I think everyone does a solid job through this movie. And I was thoroughly surprised. I was prepared to go in with high expectations, expect to be disappointed. And I think it matched my expectations and did a real good job overall. But yeah. And Brian did not watch this, so he has really nothing to say.
Nothing to add.
Now we go to most disappointed. Now you guys are lucky because with my voice like this, I am not going to be able to probably go as much as I want to with this. So this is going to be probably very toned down for these next two categories. But we're going to go to disappointing now. Now, well, preface this again. Disappointing does not mean that we hated the movie. We could have very well liked the movie very much and maybe gave it good props when we did the reviews for it early in this year. Disappointing means that it did not match our expectations or it just did not hit the mark the way we expected it to be. It does not necessarily mean that these are bad movies. So I don't think any of my movies on here I outright hated, but there's one or two that I didn't necessarily like, but I expected more. I've just got my 5. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I won't go into them in detail, but I will say that 2 that didn't quite make my cut, but were definitely disappointments for me. Bring Her Back, just because I really enjoyed Talk to Me. I know you weren't as big on it. I really enjoyed that movie. So I was looking forward to see what those guys did next. They might have been one-hit wonders. Just say that. And then Mickey 17, which I'm not a huge Pattinson fan, but the trailer for me had me very intrigued. So I'm like, this looks fun. I didn't know it was going to be like so comedic and so fun. And then I watched the movie, and I was kind of like, eh. So those are my only honorable mentions.
That was on my list for a while, but I bumped it. It was fine. It was fine. Yeah. But yeah, Bong Joon-ho and that cast, you just expect it to be better than what it was.
Yeah. So why don't you kick off this one? Yeah.
Okay. My first one, I know you didn't have any expectations for it when it came out, but I did. And that was Netflix's The Electric State. Directors.
Avengers Endgame. What? The brothers. I can't believe
I was like, my brain went dead, and then it connected to your brain and went dead.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe we're doing this. What were we talking about? Electric State. Electric State is
the Russo brothers.
Russo brothers. Thank you.
My brain.
I'm going Coen brothers. No, I'm going like Wachowskis. No.
My brain finally got it without having to look it up. Yeah, the Russo brothers. I know a lot of people shit on the Russo brothers since they left. Well, they didn't leave the MCU, but since Endgame, they haven't really been able to connect well with a good movie with Gray Man and Cherry, and there was one more they did that I don't think worked really well. I've been fine with all those movies. I haven't loved them, but Electric State I felt like was the first movie since Endgame where I was like, I think that they're gonna find their way here. Millie Bobby Brown, I know Brian's not a fan of her. Chris Pratt, I don't get all the hate Chris Pratt gets. I know a lot of it has to do with his personal life and religious standings and political standings and stuff like that. I can keep that shit off over here and I can watch the actor for what it's doing. But I thought the trailer for this was super intriguing. And visually, I thought it all looked really, really cool. I liked how the robots all looked kind of different and unique in their own way. Some looked cartoony, some looked more realistic. I liked that there were some that looked like just like the Mr. Peanut, and then there's like other ones that look like real fucking robots. Like, I just think that the world building that we were going to get was super intriguing for me, and I was super excited to see this movie. Damn it, I always say his name wrong now, and now I'm scared to say it. Giancarlo Esposito, I know is not correct, so say his real name.
It's Giancarlo Esposito, actually.
Esposito. He's also in the movie, and I was super Stanley Tucci in the movie. Great cast around this. Woody Harrelson as well, and I didn't hate the movie. Anthony Mackie as well. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I couldn't help but watch this and go, this could have been so much bigger and better than what we got. And I don't think it was necessarily an acting problem. I think it was more of a script problem because we're watching it and I don't disagree with how the script was done. I just think that they could have maybe branched out a little bit bigger with it. As big as it already was, I think it was the most expensive Netflix film ever made currently. Yeah. And I just remember watching it going, I'm just not buying the performances. And I don't think anyone's acting bad. I don't think Pratt's bad or Millie's bad or any of the voice acting's bad. It's just the dialogue. It's just not popping off the screen through the performances as I would have liked. I think everything that you need to make this movie really, really good and memorable is there. It's just not utilized effectively. And that's the main problem when it comes with Electric State, is just that it has all the ingredients right there, but it's just not cooked all the way through.
Yes, I thought it was fine, but I didn't go into huge expectations. But I think the problem is kind of in a script aspect, is also kind of in its tone. I think this movie couldn't figure out the audience, because there's parts of it that feel like it's like a kid's film, like a family film, and there's parts of it that feel like it's trying to be a sci-fi blockbuster film, and it kind of can't decide. It kind of tries to straddle both sides of that, and it kind of doesn't really succeed on either side. But it's kind of how I felt about like Real Steel. Real Steel was a movie that I think that it couldn't decide.
Don't knock Real Steel, bro. I love Real Steel.
I know, but I'm saying it was not a huge hit because it kind of did the same thing, where it's like, is it a family film? Is it not? It's like, you couldn't decide what it wanted to be.
You can do that and it works, like Super 8. I thought Super 8 was a family film, but a summer like alien blockbuster, but it was done script-wise, performance, everything worked well there. And I feel like with this, it could have been so much more, and it just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that way like in the first act with Jason Alexander. Like, he only has a small part in the film, but I'm watching his performance, I'm like, oh, man, are they just missing it? And I'm not a big Jason Alexander fan, but I was just like, the whole time he's on screen, which is not very long, but as I was watching, I was like, I feel like they're going the opposite direction of what they really need to do with this film, and I don't know if they're going to find their footing. And they kind of do at certain points. It was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and they just couldn't get it there all the way through. What was your first one?
My first one is a movie that was anticipated mostly because of the director, and that is Drop.
That is also on my list.
This is one of those, not a bad film, just a really average film. But
it was better when it was the first 15 minutes of Final Destination Bloodlines.
Right, same thing essentially. Yeah. It's because Christopher Landon, who we love from his previous films, he did We Have a Ghost, which we both thought it wasn't great, but everybody can stumble once, and plus that was a straight for Netflix movie, whatever. But he's coming out with this one, and we're like, okay, another Christopher Landon movie, looking forward to this one. It was just, I think that there's kind of a half-cooked story. I think that there was they were trying too hard to have red herrings when really everything was kind of obvious from the beginning. Just everything about this movie kind of felt like a good concept that didn't quite follow.
It wasn't fleshed out.
Yeah, and then I remember also talking about some movie had come out like a month or two before this. What was it? It was the same, almost kind of the same kind of plot. Yeah, I'm not gonna remember it now.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that, and I can't remember what it is either.
Yeah, but yeah, this is one. It was mainly because of the director. Well, he also wrote it. That's why I was anticipating this so highly. And so when it came out and it was fine, it still came across as a disappointment.
Yeah, it kind of feels like some of those like Stephen King short stories that they try to make into movies.
It does feel like a story that tried to stretch out, and it wasn't enough there.
It's a short story for a reason, man. It's not enough to be a full-fledged film. Now, some of those work, but a lot of them don't. And I'm getting worried about Landon because this is 2 misses in a row now for him. And then he dropped out of screen, but that I'm not going to, dock him for that. But like, there was no, like you said, like there was no twists and turns. Like, it's like, no, we know who's doing what. This is not, the reveal's not going to be this big reveal. It's like, no, of course. It's the only other character in the movie that has given any kind of screen time to in this room. So like, yeah, we know who it's going to be, but it's just like you're watching this and Landon always has this kind of charm with his characters, like this charisma thing. And I never felt it with any of the 2 leads, the people on the date. Like, I just never really cared about anybody in this film. And I just kind of watched it just kind of bored. Even when it tries to go to that extra level at the end, which one point it was like, you can tell he's like, we need something at the end of this because this is not. It's like, okay, we're going to go over the top. Like, now you feel desperate. the ending felt very desperate and thirsty to try to get the crowd going. No, see, we got this. Like, no. You can't all of a sudden start doing that now. You have not set the table up for that. And it just didn't work for me. This one, if I did do a top 10 worst, this one is like right around the 10 spot or right outside the top 10 worst, because it just did not work for me at all. The trailers didn't sell me on it, but it was like, it's Landon. You know what? I hated Happy Death Day's trailer so much, but the movie ended up being great. So I was like, maybe this is another Happy Death Day thing. No, it's not. It's gonna make me worry about the next Landon movie, because he's 2 misses in a row, and unless he's got a great cast around him on the third one, I'm gonna be hesitant going into the next Landon film.
Yeah, and it was Carry On, which had the same kind of conceit to it, same plot.
Oh yeah, Carry On. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was another one of mine. So back to you.
All right. The next one, not director this time. The next one is one that I was really interested in due to the cast, but I guess also one of the co-directors, who I know Sean really loves. This is Warfare, co-directed by Alex Garland, along with Ray Mendoza, who I believe is one of the actual people who are actually involved in the incident. He helped direct the movie.
Yes.
This is a movie that looked like it was going to be this generation's Black Hawk Down. It's kind of taking this one single event during the war that these soldiers got stuck in a situation, they had to try and get out of it. It's got this great cast of young up and comers. Will Poulter's in it, Kit Connor, Michael Gandolfini, Noah Centineo, Joseph Quinn, Charles Melton, and then a lot of other faces which you recognize. You probably don't know the names. So it had this great cast of up and coming actors. It really felt like it was like very much Black Hawk Down. This movie doesn't hold a candle to Black Hawk Down. This movie, I felt like it was it kind of got very monotonous. It kind of never really went anywhere. It just kind of ended they wrapped everything up very quickly. It's only about 90 minutes long, and the first half of the movie is just them sitting around waiting around for things to happen, which I understand. I'm not the kind of person that you have to jump right into the action. You have to set up characters and relationships and things like that. But this waited so long to the point where you're just like, okay, are we going anywhere with this? And then once it finally did, it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then there's a break, and do some more gunfights, and then a break, some more gunfights, and a break. Whereas Black Hawk Down, it kind of the stakes changed, and they were moving from location to location, and things were changing what they had to do, and everything was getting more desperate. This is just them still in the same place, fighting and stopping, fighting and stopping, and it just, I feel like I had high expectations for this, and maybe it's unfairly, especially in comparing to Black Hawk Down in my mind. It's an unfair, it's a Best Picture nominee. I think. Yeah.
No. I don't think Black Hawk was.
Was it? I thought it was.
No. Keep going. I'll check.
It might not have been. But all I know is that, like I said, it might have been an unfair expectation of it. But then even if I just go by the cast alone and Alex Garland, who I enjoy, but not as much as Sean, like I said, I just expected so much more. It just wasn't.
Yeah, it was just best director, but not best film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Warfare, it was one of those, everyone was talking about it, but I just saw the trailer. I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. I like a lot of the young cast in this, but this isn't really hooking me. And my main problem was yeah, they didn't really do a lot in the first 20 minutes, but they also didn't really make you give a flying fuck about anyone in the movie either.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of their names. I knew the actors. So it's like, if
you might have the movie, I might have known one character's name.
I still didn't by the end of the movie. I just knew there's Joseph Quinn, who's been screaming at the top of his lungs for 20 fucking straight minutes. Yeah. There's this guy. There's this guy. Oh, wait. Where's Will Poulter? Where's Christopher Maloney? I don't know any of these characters' names because they don't do a good job of establishing these characters. I don't need a full fucking character arc. But goddamn, I gotta still be able to know if someone died or not died just because the actor's not on screen anymore. Because it's just they don't do a good job. And this is not a disrespect to the real events that happen. Some people are saying this is the most realistic war movie that's ever been. Okay,
maybe it is. It doesn't make it a good movie.
Yeah, up until the last 10 minutes, I don't think we ever saw a single bad guy, you just hear them shooting at you. You don't see a single person that's attacking them until the cavalry comes in. Because I'm watching them like, these could be people just fucking with them, like just shooting in the air. They don't know because there's not a single time where they're in a shootout with anybody. You don't see them shooting at anybody. You just see them freaking the fuck out, looking all around, but you don't see anyone in this whole movie until the cavalry shows up and starts taking out people. It's like, oh, there's the people that have been attacking the whole time, because for fucking 80 minutes, you don't see a single fucking person going after them. You see an explosion. You hear gunfire in the distance, which could have just been people going. Because there's never a moment where I feel like that they're actually under attack. They had a bomb go off on their vehicle. Okay, cool. And now they're in this room, and then they're just waiting to be saved. Okay, fine. That's the story. But I just was like, okay, like, are we gonna move on from this? Are we gonna try to have to like Black Hawk Down? Are we having to go to a different location and we're gonna have to try to drag the injured across while in a gunfight? No, it's just them sitting around waiting to be saved. Which, okay, fine. Then can we move the camera to the people who are trying to come save them? So that way we have something happening, because all it is just you're hearing Joseph Quinn scream for 20 fucking minutes straight. And it's just dull and boring. And I'm sorry, that's no disrespect to the real events that happen. I get that. If it was real, like, that's terrifying as shit. But as a theater experience, it doesn't bring anything to the table. And the reviews for this are like off the charts. I'm just like, did we not watch the same fucking film?
Right.
Because I don't know the cast. I don't know the names of anyone in the film outside of the actors. I don't even know who was shooting at them, because once again, you don't see anyone shooting at them. You just see people on rooftops being shot at by the cavalry coming in. I never once see anyone actually shoot actively at these people. Granted, it's sandy and dusty as shit, so you can't see anything in this fucking movie. But yeah, no, it was not good. This was right around drop in my rankings for overall for the year. It's right there near worst of the year for me, because it was just an uneventful waste of 30 minutes or 90 minutes for me. That, like you said earlier, could have probably been done in 50 minutes. This could have been like a Band of Brothers episode where it's like, oh yeah, we can cover like an hour of this, cut the time down. It's like 90 minutes. Fuck off. Like, no.
Was this one of yours, or was that?
No, it would have, if I had done like an actual honorable mention, but I was never excited about this. Now, if I had done an actual honorable mention for worst, yes, it would have been on my worst.
So what's your next?
My next one is one that I don't know why I was expecting more out of this, because it's like, while I enjoyed the previous installments, like, they didn't like blow me away. So why was I so disappointed by this? And that's Fear Street Prom Queen. I enjoyed the overall story of the Fear Street trilogy from was it 2021 or 2022? So when they announced they were going to do Fear Street Prom Queen, I was like, okay, all right. And we got some actual like names in it. We got like Catherine Watterson and Chris Klein. Not that that's a big name anymore, but these people that we know outside of the young cast. And the movie itself, it's okay. But like the deaths are kind of just meh. Like they're, the story, the plot's just kind of meh. The performances of the young leads are meh. Chris Klein's memorable, but for all the wrong reasons. And then
he's never been a good actor.
No, but it's enjoyable to watch him, just to watch him drown and shit. And then it's like, once again, just like with the drop, it's like, oh, the twists of who's involved. It's like, no, it's called look at the cast list.
You're right.
It's no different than when like you watch.
You didn't bring these people in just to sit there and be in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no different when you watch like a Law and Order or like a cop sitcom, and like all of a sudden one of these actors that pops on screen. It's like, oh hey, he's in this episode. Well, he's gonna be the killer. Well, no shit, he's gonna be the killer at the end. You don't bring that guy in just to be a random dude they talk to for 5 minutes. So it's like it doesn't bring anything to it. And then they try to tie it into the trilogy at the very, very, very fucking end, which just felt once again desperate. And it's like, look, if you want it to be entranced into the trilogy, you need to do that shit out the movie. You can't just drop it at the last second. Go, yeah, see, it's still a part of it. No, it's fucking not. Like I said, I don't know why I was expecting more out of it, but I was expecting more than what we got out of it. So that's why it was one of my disappointment.
My next one is Fountain of Youth. Guy Ritchie film, John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Isa Gonzalez, Donald Gleason. I mean, come on. Stanley Tucci's in this thing. It's going to be great, right? No. It's is it one of the worst movies of the year? No, but it's absolutely like a poster child for disappointing. This is Apple.
It's Apple.
Yeah, Apple TV Plus movie. But I mean, you got a great cast. Like I said, directed by Guy Ritchie, who he kind of did his typical thing for a while, and then he kind of started doing a lot of weird shit outside his wheelhouse, which sometimes worked with things like Covenant and stuff like that. And sometimes, he's doing stuff when he was married to Madonna that was kind of okay. Nobody cares about that. But then, like in this recent couple of years, he's kind of had this resurgence where, first of all, he's pumping out like multiple movies in a year, which I don't know if it's a good thing or not. But also, they've been fun. The last couple movies he's made, I've really enjoyed. So he makes this one. Assembles a great cast, but it feels like exactly what it is. It feels like a pale imitation of Indiana Jones, a pale imitation of The Mummy, a pale imitation of National Treasure. It takes all these movies that it wants to aspire to be. It wants to be like them, but it just does not come even close to them. I think that the story was kind of bland, especially the movie starts out. It's like just kind of rushing.
It's really rushing.
The characters, I don't really care about any of the characters. There's some really shoddy CGI and stuff in this movie. So like kind of on every level, it just kind of failed for me and just became a huge disappointment because I was all for another adventure in the vein of things like National Treasure and The Mummy. But there's things in this movie that are straight, like almost scene for scene ripoffs of those films. It like doesn't even try to hide the fact that it's trying to copy them. But like I said, it does not do it well. And then you took these actors we like, and especially Natalie Portman is an actress who I like, but it kind of like I was talking about with Javier Bardem. I really like her, but she does a lot of movies that I don't give a shit about. She does a lot of the stuffy dramas and things like this that I don't care about. Black Swan. I don't care about Jackie. I don't care about some of these other movies she's done. So when she decides to do something just like light and fun, I'm there for it. And then we get this. And then and Isa Gonzalez, I love Isa Gonzalez, but even her in this, I'm just kind of like, whatever. So I was disappointed across the board on this movie.
This would have been an honorable mention had I done honorable mentions for this. And it's mainly the reason why it's not higher for me is because I wasn't really sold on the trailer, so it was hard to be disappointed when I wasn't really excited for it.
The trailer didn't sell me, but when I've heard about it, I was excited. And I thought, well, maybe it was just a bad trailer. So I kept my hopes up, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. So there's not really much more to add on to it. Yeah. Also, you forgot about Stanley Tucci. He was in like 2 scenes. He just randomly shows up. It's like, where the fuck did Tooch show up?
Well, they were trying to start their whole own universe and make more of these movies, but it's not going to happen.
No. Yeah, it is incredible because I watched it before Brian did, and I remember like the first 20 minutes. I'm like, they need to slow the fuck down, and then finally they did. But like Natalie Portman does not look like she even really wants to be there. Krasinski is trying to chew the scenery like Orlando Bloom indeed cover, but it just doesn't. It's not the same.
I feel like he's trying too hard. Now, I don't know if that's him or the script trying to throw in a lot of quippy one-liners and things. I don't know whose fault it is. It's almost
like I feel like he was trying too hard to make the movie seem more fun, and because of that, it just came off more fake.
Yeah.
And the rest of the cast is just kind of what it is. But yeah, it's a smorgasbord of Indiana Jones, Uncharted, The Mummy, National Treasure, just all kind of thrown into a blender. But if you throw a bunch of good food in a blender, you know what you just get? Slop. And that's what this is. It's just a slop of a bunch of ingredients that are good on their own, but not together. And that's kind of what Fountain of the Youth was. It was just kind of what it was. I remember watching the whole movie, and like by the end of it, I was just like, so that happened. How much money got wasted on that? Like a lot of people want to shit on Red One. At least Red One, I felt like was like trying to do something, but people want to shit all over that. And then there's this. Like, how much money did they spend on this one? Like, this is like Red Notice level of like bad, where it's just like it's just like you got people in it that we like, could not tell you a lick about this movie, and I just got done watching it. And I don't plan on watching it ever again.
Nope.
My next one, I enjoyed it for what it was. But for what I was prepared for and what I wanted out of it, it just missed the mark for me. And that was Karate Kid Legends. Now, granted, we saw the trailer. And we're like, so they're basically just telling the Karate Kid all over again. Which is what they've done with every Karate Kid movie. Is they basically are just telling the same fucking story again in a different location and all that kind of stuff. And yes, for the most part, it does do that. I would say this. Would I have been harder on this movie if Cobra Kai had not come out? No. But Cobra Kai ended at such a high note for me that when this is coming out, I was amped up for this because of Cobra Kai. And then I watched it and I'm just like, I knew it wasn't going to be Cobra Kai because I knew none of the cast was going to be in that outside of Danny. And it just... A lot of people want to attack the first act of this movie. And I think the first act was the best part because it wasn't a Karate Kid movie at that point. Because they have Joshua Jackson in this. Who I've always been a fan of Joshua Jackson. And he's a boxer. And like the kid who's been trained by Jackie Chan in this, he moves to New York away from Hong Kong. And he's basically training Joshua Jackson to be a better fighter while developing a relationship with his daughter. And so I kind of was enjoying this story of this fish out of water. He's not from New York, but he's helping Joshua Jackson become a better fighter. And he's kind of like the young Mr. Miyagi to a point. And then that ends, and then it becomes Karate Kid, where it's like, okay, now the kid's going to be in this tournament. Here comes Jackie Chan. Oh, wait, he doesn't know karate. He knows kung fu. So let's bring Daniel in. And then it just kind of becomes a Karate Kid movie. And the problem with it is that there's nothing wrong with making another Karate Kid movie. But what made Karate Kid as memorable as it was back in the day? It was Johnny Lawrence. It was William Zabka's Johnny Lawrence. It was, oh God, I'm blanking on. It was Kreese. It was having these villains, these bad guys that you want to see Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi beat and win at the end of the day. And while they do establish this villain in the movie is phenomenal at karate, outside of just being kind of an ass and like one scene, maybe two scenes, they don't do a good job of establishing the quote unquote villains in this movie. They're just there. And because you're so focused on getting the new Karate Kid, which I'm blanking on his, I think it's Ben Wang. Ben Wang, sorry. He's actually really good. He's good. And he's going to be in the, whatever that Walk movie is that comes out later this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's good in the movie. It has nothing to do with an acting situation in this movie. It is, they want to do the Karate Kid, but they fail to do the one essence that made the Karate Kid great, which was having great foils for the Karate Kid to beat. And while outside of just this guy's a really fucking good fighter, there is no animosity stuff outside of like, oh, the girl that Ben Wang likes, that's his ex-girlfriend. Okay, there's the establishment, but it's not fucking built. So at the end of the movie, you're just like, okay, like that's just what it is. All right, fine. I didn't hate it, but compared to Cobra Kai and what made Karate Kid, this fails at what it was supposed to do. Not a bad movie by any means, but just pale imitation of what it is as well. I think it maybe even is more of a pale imitation to the Jackie Chan Karate Kid with Jaden. Like I feel like they probably did that as a better job. But the first act though, where it's Ben teaching Joshua Jackson to become a better boxer fighter, I was on board for that story. Like I was like, all right. And then it just went right to another Karate Kid. And I was like, okay, you lost me. And yeah. So I was like, it's not bad. It's just not as good as it could have been. But yeah.
I didn't see it.
I know you did. What's your next one?
My next one was our combined most anticipated movie of the year. It was neither of our number ones, but as far as like its placement on both of our lists, it ended up being the highest combined one, and that's Love Hurts.
Oh, I thought you were going one way. Now I know exactly where you're going.
No, Love Hurts.
Yes.
This it's Ke Huy Quan, coming off of his Oscar win, he gets to finally be the lead. It's an action comedy, which seems like it'd be right up his alley. The action and choreography and stunts are done by 87 North, David Leitch's company. One of the guys who was one of his stunt coordinators, Jonathan Eusebio. This is his directing debut. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see this. We're going to love it. It's got a great cast. They assembled Ariana DeBose. And Ke Huy Quan being the main ones. Marshawn Lynch has a role in it. Sean Astin gets to reunite with Ke Huy Quan for a couple scenes. It sounded like it was going to be fun. It's kind of the same thing we've seen too many times now, I think, like Nobody. And I was like, oh, it's this guy, this seemingly, mundane, this guy with a seemingly mundane life. Like in this case, he's a real estate guy. He's like, oh, it turns out that he's actually this secret agent or, assassin. He has all his skills. And then they're doing that too many times.
Comes back to bite him.
But I'm like, okay, well, at least I'll enjoy the action for this. So we were both anticipating this movie based on kind of the pedigree behind it. It was fine. Again, it's not in my worst list. It's not in my best, though, where I hoped it'd be somewhere in my top 10 or something. This is, I think, just above the halfway point of all my films for the year. It's kind of right in that mid range. Because I didn't buy into it at all. I think that it took kind of too long to really get to the fun action. And when it did, even that, it didn't feel as fun as kind of some of the other movies you expect from these people. I think that Ariana DeBose seems completely miscast in this. They also try to create some chemistry between her and Ke Huy Quan, which I didn't feel at all.
Yeah.
So that didn't work for me.
Marshawn Lynch worked for me.
He was fun. The movie had its bright spots. There were certain scenes that were fun, certain action sequences that were good action. There was certain characters. Marshawn Lynch was fun, but it just seemed like as a whole film, it was just kind of like it didn't do anything for me. It's like the story I didn't care about, the character, the actual character. I'm like, I don't really buy his backstory, especially when they started trying to play him in with Ariana DeBose, and it just didn't work for me in the way that I really had hoped it would. I was really looking forward to this movie, and it was kind of like, eh. So there it is.
Yeah, this would have been an honorable mention for me had I done one. This was also kind of right there with Warfare and Drop for me for worst of the year. This was kind of like, I gave it 2 stars. It's right there at the back end of my movies for the year. Yeah, just nothing really worked in this except for like the side characters. The other assassin, the one who uses the knives. I liked his character.
Mustafa Shakir.
Yes, I liked his character. I liked Marshawn Lynch in the movie. Ke Huy Quan, I mean, it's hard not to like him because he's just so fucking adorable. That's weird to say about the guy, but he just is. But yeah, the plot, the story, the action was fine, but not like what we were expecting it to be. Everything about it just was kind of bleh. And then the movie just kind of ends. And you're just like, wow, love hurts, but so does this. This just hurts. Yeah, I probably should have put this ahead of like Fear Street or Electric State, but I kind of forgot about it. Forgot about Love Hurts because
I brought it up so you got to talk about it.
Exactly. But yeah, it was a disappointment. My last one, I know Brian was gonna go, well, I didn't have high expectations for this anyway, so that's why it's not on my list. But for me, it's got to be Captain America: Brave New World.
I didn't have high expectations for that anyway, so it's not on my list.
Exactly. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we've talked about this quite a bit already this year. Like I said, I was a big fan of Falcon Winter Soldier. I was on board for Mackie as new Cap. Harrison Ford taking over for Thunderbolt Ross, Red Hulk. I was on board for all that. This movie is dull, boring, and the final act battle should have been the second act battle. The villain is god awful. There's bad CGI in the movie. It feels like a lot. You can tell that a lot of this is on a soundstage, and I've never felt that way watching an MCU movie before. the new Black Widow, oh thank you. But the new Falcon,
so much.
The new Falcon though, I like new Falcon, but yeah, the new Black Widow did not work for me. Red Hulk was cool, but that should not have been the final act. Because someone made this joke, and they're not wrong. So both Marvel movies this year, the final fight had to do with them calming someone down and basically giving them a hug. Because that and Thunderbolts both have the same ending. It's someone who's lost their shit, and instead of like defeating them, it's like, calm down, buddy. It's gonna be okay.
You need a hug. Come here.
So it's like it's really bad that both of the movies came out this shit. That is the plot, is that sometimes we go off the fucking handle and we destroy some shit and we fucking destroy some people. But if we all have a good calm down mode, at the end of the day, all's forgiven. Which not really. Harrison Ford got arrested at the end of the movie. But that's basically that, and Thunderbolts will have the same fucking kind of ending. And that's like, and I don't know how Ironheart is yet because I haven't started Ironheart. But yeah, that's but we like Thunderbolts though. So we're saying that, but we like Thunderbolts. But yeah, Captain America: Brave New World was. I'm not against seeing Anthony Mackie as Falcon again. Obviously, I'll watch him as Captain America because I like Anthony Mackie. But yeah, this was a big swing and miss for me.
Yeah, agreed.
And now we go to the worst.
Wait, I still have a disappointment.
I thought you did your last one already.
Well, you started on these.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, you got one more. Sorry.
You know where Sean thought I was going before? Going there now. Jurassic World Rebirth. Technically a second half of the year release, but we saw it in not just like some such thing as a public advanced screening. So lots of people have seen it. So I'm going to count it because we saw it in this first half of the year. Yeah, disappointment. I had high hopes for it. I don't know if I had high expectations for it though, but I had high hopes for it because we knew that from announcing this movie is going to be made to it coming out was like 1 year. So we knew they were going to rush it. But you got Gareth Edwards in there. You got some cast members that I thought I would enjoy. And it's supposedly getting back to the basics, just like dinosaurs. The problem is that's part of the problem is just kind of dinosaurs on an island again. We did a whole review of it, so I'm not going to go into detail. Just to say, I'd hoped, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling it from the trailers and stuff, but I really want to love this. I hope this kind of rejuvenates it. We get to see more of these movies. But now I saw this, I'm kind of like, I was largely bored, and I kind of hope they stop making these now. But that's just me. That's all I'll say. Go watch the other.
I'll talk about this later, but in a more positive light. So now we will jump into the worst films of the year. How many do you actually have? Because you said you had a hard time getting to 5.
I really only have 2 real worst, and one that's I put in there to round out to make it a top 3. Although it's not, I don't hate it. I will say I rounded mine out to a top 5, only by including 2 that I didn't finish. So I know they don't really count, but just from what I saw, they were the worst. Back in Action, I turned off after half an hour because it just was every cliche movie you've ever seen. We were just talking about it. In this case, it's the whole genre of parents who the kids didn't realize were super spies and all this. It's like, okay, whatever. I thought the banter between them was horrible, and I thought that there was horrible like CGI and green screen shit going on, and nothing about it was convincing. So half an hour in, turned it off. I did not rate it because I won't assign a rating to something I didn't finish. I think that's unfair, so I don't rate it. But I just wanted to talk about it. The other one is Snow White. Snow White.
We will be talking about Snow White.
We'll talk about that later. Okay. I'll say I made it a half hour into that one as well and turned it off. So
we are not. Snow White is not getting out of this unscathed. Let's just fucking say that. Okay. All right. I have one
your bottom 3 or 2.
I've got an honorable mention. I guess I'm not hating on it as much as I did when I first saw it, but I still don't like it, and that was The Monkey. Cringeworthy script. God, I hated the script. I hated the young actors who played the younger versions. I feel like it couldn't decide whether it wanted to be funny or whether it wanted to be a horror movie. And I know that horror and comedy gel real well. It didn't gel well for me in this movie. I felt just kind of more eye-rollingly annoyed through the whole film of this. And it just I like Toby Kebbell, but for some reason I don't at the same time. I liked him when he was being an ape in the Planet of the Apes movies, but for some reason I have never been able to like Toby Kebbell when he's straight acting. And this did not help that as all, even though he is in The Monkey, even though I like him as a monkey, not in this. But yeah, The Monkey just did not work for me. Going to my actual top 5 worst, I will say this: 4 out of my top 5 are horror films. And while Snow White is not a horror film, it fucking felt like one. So, going to my 5, my number 5 is The Woman in the Yard. I know you didn't. Nothing against the cast. Or no, the cast is annoying. The kids are annoying as fuck. It's one of those where it's a mom and her 2 kids, and this woman shows up on her yard.
Is that the one? That's Danielle Deadweiler in that one?
Yes.
From Heart of the Fall, yeah. Okay.
Yes. And this woman shows up in her yard, all draped in black, and she's basically wants to be let in, but they won't let her in, and she like uses shadows to kind of like, fuck with shit. It has very much of a I'm gonna say this, you're gonna get one thought, and it's not 100% that, but it's very much like the Babadook in a way, where it's like once you figure out what it is, you're like, really?
And for me, that's not a good thing, by the way, people.
It's not a good thing. It's not fully that, but it is at the same time. Nothing against what's her name? Danielle
Deadweiler.
She's fine in the film. She actually is really good in the movie. The effects of the horror aspects are okay. The script did nothing for me. Also, like, because like her whole main thing is that she was in a car accident, so her legs all braced up. So she's basically having to play like hobbling around the whole time, and that got very annoying very fast. And the kid actors didn't really do much for me at all. I think the concept was intriguing. It was the execution of it that didn't work for me at all. So I was not a fan of this movie. Next one, Brian brought up earlier as one-hit wonders. I'm going to say 0-hit wonders, and that's Bring Her Back. I hated this fucking movie. Talk about a movie where you have no one to root for, and you're just watching the movie because you're forced to watch it, and not like a single fucking image in this film. That's what I felt like Bring Her Back was. I have always been it's a trope, and I hate the trope, and I'm so sick and tired of it, where it's like you have like the kids have to go to somebody because they're their new guardian, and the guardian's evil, but no one believes the kids, and it's all like doing this shit. The trope gets very tiring, very, very fucking fast. And this movie literally lives and dies off of that trope. And there's this other element of like supernatural element that just didn't work for me. Yes, the imagery is creepy and unnerving, but I didn't care for the cast. I didn't care for the story structure of this. The end didn't do much for me either. I just thought it was just fucking annoying and unlikable from first shot to final shot. Same way I felt about Talk to Me. And I just don't get why people think that this is a good horror movie. And I just really, really hated this fucking film. My next one, I know Brian hates. He's probably going to talk about it. It's probably one of his bottom 3, and that is Wolfman.
Well, that's my number 1 worst of the year so far.
Wolfman had so much potential to be good. It's got Lee Wanell directing, who I like. I like him as a director. I thought he did fantastic with Upgrade. I thought he was good in Invisible Man. And then the first Saw movie was, it is what it was, but it started this whole fucking thing. He has such potential as a great director, but he gets the Wolfman, which I'm like, okay, he did Invisible Man. I'm intrigued to see what he does with this. This is not good. It's not. And then you have an actress in
Julia Garner.
Yeah, Julia Garner, who I enjoy. And we're going to see what she does in Fantastic Four as Silver Surfer. I feel like she's wasted in this movie. Just the whole story of this just sucks. It's not intriguing. It feels very much like a zombie Evil Dead-esque thing where it's like, oh, he's gonna turn evil at some, he's gonna turn into a werewolf at some point. But just the transition to it and like how long it took and the way he goes about transitioning to the werewolf did not work for me. It dragged on way too fucking long, and it's not even that long of a movie to begin with. Just nothing really worked for me in this movie, which just was a huge disappointment for me, which would have been undisappointing to a point, but it's like, nah, it's going to get its due and worst, so I'm not even going to put it on my disappointing. But yeah, the movie just sucked, and I expected more out of it.
Yeah, I hated this movie. I don't like the cast at all, from the Kit Harington's clone Christopher Abbott to Julia Garner, who I think is a horrible actress. I don't even know
if you had watched Ozark, you wouldn't feel that way.
Well, I don't like her in this. She, again, is a character I kind of just hoped she would die from moment one of this movie. I hate that every horror movie these days has to feel like, oh, it has to be some kind of, metaphor for mental illness, or in this case, like generational trauma. Same thing with Bring Her Back. It's like, why can't a horror movie just be a fucking horror movie? Why can't it just be like a Wolfman? Why do you have to try to have some, metaphor for this? No, fuck you. Just make a Wolfman movie. And it's not even a Wolfman movie. I mean, there's clearly something happening to him. By the time he turns into kind of a wolf,
it's like the last 5 to 7
almost
minutes
at the very end of the movie,
yeah,
it doesn't even fucking look like a wolf. It looks like some kind of fucking sickly, half-shaved mutant thing that got toxic waste dumped on it.
It like a Wendigo.
Yeah,
it would have fit more, but it's not. So
yeah, I mean, you call the movie Wendigo, it wouldn't be a better movie, but at least I wouldn't hate the fact that they tried to pass it off as a Wolfman movie.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this movie, except that I agree with everything you said. I just hated this movie so much. If you want to see a good werewolf movie, go watch Werewolves. I liked that one with Frank Grillo.
I still haven't watched that.
Oh, that's fun. You gotta watch that one.
I still haven't watched it yet. Next, since that was also one of yours, we'll talk Snow White now. So you made it how long? Snow White.
Oh, Snow White. Well, 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this is not going to be.
It was bad.
Well, no, 5 minutes in, I'm like, well, the thing is, I'm like, you know what? I like musicals. I like Rachel Zegler. She gets a lot of shit, but again, this is mostly for stuff outside of the movies, her personal opinions and her political activism and things like that. People dislike her for these things, but I like her in the movies I've seen her in, and I like musicals. I don't care about Snow White, and I don't care about Disney live action remakes, but that's why I didn't go see it in theaters. But I'm like, what's on Disney Plus? I'll check it out. Like I said, 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the music. I don't like, the look of it. And it's like, it's not going to be good. But you know what? I'll stick with it for a while. But basically, once the dwarves finally showed up, I watched like one full and I'm like, nope, fuck it. I'm out. I'm not even going to waste my time. That's as far as I got.
Yeah. This is utter garbage.
Yeah.
If I had to choose between watching this and Madam Web, I'm going to watch Madam Web, which says a lot.
Madam Web, you can at least enjoy in a like mock how bad it is kind of way. This is just.
I feel like this is effectively going to kill Gal Gadot's career. She is atrocious in this. She cannot sing. Just because you can sing loud does not mean you can sing. And they give her 2 song numbers in this. Neither one.
I didn't get that far. Yeah.
No. Oh God, it's bad.
I did see her acting though. That wasn't great either.
Rachel Zegler, she's fine in this. Like I don't think any of this has to do with her.
It's just a boring role. A character somebody I've never liked. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing that she did wrong in this movie. She's getting a lot of blowback for this, and that's more for her press stuff that she said afterwards.
Comments she made about the original movie and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's nothing in the role that she does actively bad in this. She's probably the one thing that's fine. The dwarves are fucking nightmare-inducingly ugly. They look almost like the troll from Ernest Scared Stupid, which is terrifying for a young kid to watch. So to make little kids watch this and go, no, Dopey looks like the Mad Magazine spokesperson. Also, Dopey, this was on Honest Trailer, so I'm stealing their joke, but it's true. Snow White has more chemistry with Dopey than she does the Prince Charming character in this fucking movie. Like, by the end of the movie, like, is Snow White and Dopey gonna fuck? Because I feel it. I feel the chemistry between them. Don't feel it between her and Prince Charming, which is not even Prince Charming. It's fucking Robin Hood. They can't even do the fucking characters right. It's Robin Hood and his merry men, which one of them is a dwarf. So they wouldn't cast dwarves to be the seven dwarves, but they'll cast a dwarf to be a merry man of Robin Hood in this movie. I will say this, in terms of good parts of the movie, as scary as the dwarves are, the two dwarf songs are probably the highlight of the film, which says a whole lot about this fucking movie right there. Visually, everything looks like shit. Acting, bad. Music, bad. The actor who is playing Prince China, I can't remember what the fuck his real name is in the movie. He looks like if you took Chris Pine and oh god, I'm blanking on the actor's name. Matt Comer from like White Notice and Matt Bauer. It's like if you Bomer. It's like if you took him, you took Chris Pine, you took like three other faces that look kind of the same, and you mushed them into one person. That's what you get for this guy.
I can see that.
That's nothing against the dude. It's just he doesn't bring anything to him. He just looks like a generic mishmash of a bunch of actors who are better than him that they probably didn't want to be cast in or they couldn't afford, and they casted this guy in it. He's average at best in this, but he doesn't bring anything to the table. You don't buy their relationship. Like I said, you expect her to fuck Dopey at the end of this movie because you buy that relationship more. It is almost as bad as Pinocchio. Not quite there. You can't get past Pinocchio, who literally stands there looking at a piece of shit, and they decided to keep that in the movie. It doesn't go that far, but it's really fucking bad. It's really, really bad. I gave my dad shit because I was up here hanging out, and I heard hi-ho, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I went downstairs, and he's like, why are you watching this garbage? I wanted to see what it was. Like, no, do not waste the time. And my mom's just like, this is awful. I'm like, yeah. Why would I ever tell you guys to watch? Go watch Sinners or something. Why the fuck are you wasting your time watching Snow White? How dare you? Horrible, horrible fucking movie. What was your next one?
A movie that is, it's, I don't know if I could call it the worst of the year, but I thought it was pretty bad. So it's at the bottom of my list, is The Surfer with Nicolas Cage. And this is like, I kind of expect Nicolas Cage to make some kind of weird shit, because he's done doing that for years. But this is one that, again, was getting theatrical released. It was getting some good reviews. And so I'm like, I'll check it out. And it's a movie that maybe had potential in the concept, but I think that the way it was filmed was horrible. I think that Nicolas Cage's like descent into madness goes a little too fast and too hardcore. And it just seems like it's like he's. Are you talking
about in this movie or just in general?
In this movie.
Okay.
Not Nicolas Cage's actual descent into madness. I mean, the characters.
I thought you were saying like in terms of like a lot of his movies where he does this, it tends to go too quick.
Well, no, specifically this movie. I think that it's like it just seems like his decline just happens way too fast, and it's just there's so many other ways this movie could have gone, and then the ending, which I won't spoil it for people who want to go see it. The ending is just eye rolling, just stupid bullshit. You're like, there's no way this happens. This is dumb. I can't believe they went this direction for it. And it's one of those movies that I probably would not hate as much as I do, if not for the fact that it was getting like very positive reviews. And I'm like, I don't get it. I guess if the only thing you want to see when you go see a Nicolas Cage movie like this is like, I want to see Nicolas Cage be wild and crazy. Sure, I guess you get that in this movie. But as far as the actual plot and the actual acting and the actual kind of story, it fails for me. And this won't be in the bottom at the end of the year for me. But of what I've seen so far, which I haven't seen a lot of really, really bad ones, this one's kind of down there for me.
Yeah, my last one, Snow White is the worst movie of the year. This one, though, is technically worse, but it's also like a Shudder horror film. So it's like, what the fuck do you expect? But in terms of like last year with Madam Web. Madam Web is the worst fucking movie of the year. Is it really the worst film? No, there's a lot of movies that are probably worse than Madam Web, but it deserves to be worse because of what it did, and Snow White's in that same trope. But technically right now, the worst film I've seen this year is a Shudder film, a horror pro wrestling movie called Dark Match. I don't know what I wasn't expecting greatness. I was expecting at least average. Stars Chris Jericho and the rest of people that I don't fucking know off the top of the head. I think there's actually one actual name in this movie besides Chris Jericho that I'm just not pulling off the top of the head. Oh yeah, Stephen Ogg from like Grand Theft Auto and like all that shit, and then like Sarah Cannon, she's also in this. But basically, it's about these group of pro wrestlers who are just indie wrestlers. They don't wrestle for a big company. They kind of like get paid per match kind of thing, and they basically get booked for this show at this like famous pro wrestlers like cult farm. He's become like a cult leader, which is Jericho, and they're getting paid to be there for like 2 days to like wrestle and be a part of this thing and all that kind of stuff. What they don't realize is that these matches that they're being put in are kind of like Saw-like, where it's to the death, and they're actually a part of a ritual sacrifice kind of thing, which concept-wise, that's kind of cool. Problem is that the acting's bad. The wrestling's even fucking worse. It's shot way too fucking dark. It's shot like they have the smoke machine going at 90%, and they don't ever let it up. So a lot of it is just kind of like you're kind of just squinting your eyes trying to see what's going on. The dialogue shit, the acting is shit. Then they go full supernatural in like the last like 5-10 minutes, and it's just like, okay. But yeah, once again, it's a Shudder horror movie. Like, what do you expect? But yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. It's pretty bad. And I know Brian has not seen it, so
yeah. No, my only one I had, Wolfman's the worst one I've seen in full. Snow White would probably be there if I watched the whole thing. The only other one I had on my list of the worst ones was a movie called Bloat. This is another movie from the people who made like Searching and Missing, one of those Screen Life movies. This one, the star of it is Ben McKenzie. Ooh, that tells you the level of budget and effort they're putting into this movie. I got nothing to say about it. It was just completely boring and pointless, and it's about as exciting as you think staring at someone else staring at the screen would be. That's
so
all.
now we go on to our best films of 2025 so far. I've got 3 honorable mentions. How many do you have?
I didn't actually prepare any honorable mentions.
I don't have anything real long to say about it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it.
Okay. We mentioned one earlier, The Gorge. That was an honorable mention. Another one for me is Death of a Unicorn. Talk about surprise. It would have been on my surprise had I not been talking about it right now. I went into this not really knowing what to expect. What I didn't realize I was going to get was almost like a Jurassic Park-esque kind of film with a fucking unicorn. It's crazy ass zany fun. Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd,
Will Poulter.
So Warner Herzog? Not Warner Herzog, is it?
No, it's not
Plays
Warner
the
Herzog.
dad? Plays the dad?
No, it's Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant, that's right. I was like, I knew that wasn't right. Just watch it. Like I can't really explain it. But it is isn't Toni Collette also?
Taylor
Leone. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Like I said, The Gorge, and then Companion, which was in my top 10 for the longest time, and it just dropped out this past week. Are you going to be talking about Companion?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, Companion, that was my honorable mention. So yeah, Companion, The Gorge, Death of a Unicorn. Brian, why don't you go ahead and start with your number 10?
My number 10 for the first half of the year is Final Destination Bloodlines. This is a movie that there's a lot of people like raving about this movie. It's making like huge box office for this franchise, which I don't get. Not because I don't like the movie, but just because I think it's right on par with the rest of them. And I mean, some of the best ones of the franchise, but I don't think it's dramatically better than the other ones. But then again, I've always liked the other ones, I think, more than most people. I really enjoyed this movie. I like the kind of the idea of going back and kind of having, especially the opening prologue where they have it set back in the 60s, I think it's late 60s. Because I think that they could have a lot of fun if they went forward in this franchise and did like different time periods and eras. I mean,
So basically, they do the Predator, but Final Destination.
Yeah, do Final Destination in medieval times. How much shit could kill you there? You know, all kinds of weird shit. You could have a lot of fun with this, but that was just a prologue, and they came back to obviously present day. I kind of liked the idea of the whole bloodlines where it's like all these people weren't supposed to live, so death is now trying to take out not just the people who lived, but all their descendants who never should have existed, and that's a great idea for a movie. We've talked about it if you watch the full review how it doesn't completely make sense the way they do it, especially when they seem to be implying, a lot of people have just said that it's what it is that all the other movies are now connected. They basically, retcon, so everything is connected to this movie. It doesn't work if you think about the logic of it. Even by the movie's own logic, it doesn't follow the rules. But but I had a lot of fun. It had, what other for when I see Final Destination movie, I'm looking for cool, creative, fun deaths. It has plenty of those. I actually liked a couple of the characters a lot more than I thought I would. Not so much the main characters, but like the brothers.
The brothers are great.
Yeah, the brothers are great. The kills were cool. There's something. Oh, Tony Todd. It was great to see Tony Todd one last time. It was a little bit bittersweet because he looked definitely sickly. You could tell this is like his last appearance he was going to make on film, but he kind of got to give a goodbye. He kind of almost gave like a goodbye at the end.
It was a very beautiful moment.
So that was cool. So, but basically, this movie just delivered what I look for in a Final Destination movie, and so I had a blast watching this. So it just squeaks in for the first half of the year. I'm at number 10.
Yeah, I had fun with this as well for everything that you said. Like I said, I wasn't really crazy about the leads of this, but I was a fan of the brothers' side characters. I wish that they were the leads of the movie and not the leads that we got. Nothing against them, they just didn't work for me as well as the brothers did. The humor between the brothers I thought worked awesomely. I want to see more of these guys, even though you called him Kmart Robert Pattinson. I want to see more of Kmart Robert Pattinson because he was fucking entertaining as shit. I loved the opening act, 50s, 60s aesthetic. I thought that was really good. Like I said, it was a better version of The Drop than The Drop was. The kills, I think, were fine, not great compared to the franchise. Tony Todd's scene, like I said, was beautifully well done for what it was. It made me sad while watching it because he did look super sickly, but at least he went out on his own terms. But yeah, I put it right up there with the top of Final Destination for me. I think story-wise, the concept of the Bloodlines thing works really well. No, it does not tie into the other movies except for Tony Todd. So stop saying that. It irritates the fuck out of me when people think that that's the case, and it's so fucking not. But yeah, it's a solid film. It wasn't in my top, but it was solid. My first one at the number 10 spot is a movie that I think we had heard about from like festivals, but it finally came out. I think it was supposed to come out last year, and then it came out this year, and that's My Dead Friend Zoe. Loved the cast in this. Sonequa Martin Green, I've always been a fan of. Natalie Morales, someone we've both been fans of. Ed Harris, Morgan Freeman, Utkarsh Umbudkar. I'm sure I said that wrong, but I love that dude. That dude's hilarious and everything he's in. I enjoy him every time he's on screen. I really, really loved the story that we got about this. It's basically about Sonequa Martin Green's character, Merritt. She's a former Army vet who lost her best friend over there, and she's basically been having a hard time with it since she's been home. She's having to go to like AA meetings. She's basically having a hard time keeping a hold of a job, but she's effectively being haunted by her best friend Zoe, played by Natalie Morales, and she's just trying to take care of her grandpa, played by Ed Harris, and try to get her life back in order, but she just can't let go of her friend Zoe. And we all know it's kind of in her head, but it might not be in her head. But like this ghost aspect of Zoe, I think both Natalie and Sonequa play this beautifully throughout the film. It's got a lot of heart for it. Got some great emotional moments near the end of the film. I think everyone does a great job in this movie, and I really, really thought this was a fine film.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. It didn't make my top 10, but I enjoyed this movie. It's I think Sonequa and Natalie are the clearly the stars. I love Natalie Morales. I wish she'd get more stuff. But like both of them in this, Sonequa Martin Green, I wish that she had the career that Naomi Ackie seems to be having, because I don't like Naomi Ackie, but I think that Sonequa Martin Green would be perfect for all the roles that she's done. So it's like, get rid of her, put her in these roles. Ed Harris gets to come back and play. He's looking a little sick these days. I mean, he's getting older, but he gets to play an appropriate role. He's kind of like, that he's her dad. Is it dad? Yeah,
granddad. Their grandfather. Her grandfather.
Yeah, she's a grandfather. And he's kind of the ornery old man, but of course, he's got this connection with her and like that. Morgan Freeman's kind of just there. But
yeah, he's not utilized to his fullest. I mean, he's good in the scenes that we get him in, but he's not utilized.
No, but I enjoyed this one. Yeah.
What was your next one?
My number 9. This is a movie that's been all over my list. There are times when I was watching it when I'm like, oh, am I disappointed in this? Like, no, I'm actually enjoying this. So where do I put this? But I ended up making it for the moment in my number 9 slot, and that's the other Gareth that came back this year, Gareth Evans with Havoc. Havoc is a movie that
weird. I thought I liked Havoc more than you did.
It has a plot, I suppose. But really, it's just something to string together a whole bunch of really, really, really brutal, bloody, violent action scenes that are filmed with some good style. Sometimes a little bit too stylistically. They go overboard with the shaky cam. There's some CG blood and snow everywhere. But I'm watching this for the bloody, brutal violence, and it delivers 100% on that front. And this is the same guy who made like the Raid movies, things like that. So you knew what to expect. It's been sitting on a shelf for like 2 years. For Netflix finally decided to release it, but yeah, I liked it. Plus, you get Timothy Olyphant, Forrest Whitaker, a bunch of other people back. Good cast.
Yeah, awesome action sequences. They did put in the Game Shark code for infinite ammo during the movie, because there's so many times where I'm like, they should be out of ammo like 5 minutes ago. But yeah, somehow
that and the bad guys can't hit anything, even if they're shooting at them down a straight narrow hallway. They still can't hit anybody. So
yeah, but is it entertaining? Yes, it is. Yeah. Is it fun to watch? Yes, it is. You have to kind of take the plot for what it is and kind of move on from it? Yes, you can. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely a fun ride, fun Netflix ride. My number 9 may be on your list, may not be, and that's The Life of Chuck.
It is.
Yes, it is. Okay. Life of Chuck. This is a movie that I think we were both anticipating basically just on names alone. You got a Stephen King short story, Mike Flanagan, which is my favorite horror director now, directing it. Then you add a very, very talented cast with Tom Hiddleston, Matthew Lillard, Jacob Tremblay, Karen Gillan, Chiwetel Ejiofor. The list goes on and on and on. It's a phenomenal cast through it. I think the movie is interesting and really well done. It has some phenomenal acting scenes. Matthew Lillard especially has a fantastic monologue in the first act. And I think Brian and I are both kind of in agreement. It's more of the structure of how the story is told and what the quote-unquote twist is that doesn't ultimately work for us by the end of the film. But we love the performances. We love moments of the film, but we just don't think the movie as a whole fully works unless you changed on it. But yeah, that was my thoughts on Life of Chuck.
No, Life of Chuck right now is at my number 4. This movie could have been my number 1 if they had managed to pull everything together. Because as I said in my previous review, it's like I love every individual scene of this movie. I love the first act. Every scene of that I think is so well done and so well acted and so well written. The second act with Tom Hiddleston, it's basically a big long dance number. Loved that. Loved every second of that. The last act when you show Chuck as a kid, there were so many scenes in there that I really loved. But then the way they try to pull it all together and they try to make it all work, it didn't come together for me. It wasn't cohesive. And I think that the way they ended the movie, the way that there are so many other parts like that first act, which I would have loved to have seen them expand more on that. I would like to have seen a little bit more of Tom Hiddleston, like in Act 2. It's like I feel like they had all the makings of a great film that could have been my number 1 of the year so far, but there was just instead they gave me pieces of it, glimpses of it, but then kind of just threw them together and didn't quite stick the landing. So it's still in my top 10. So like I said, it's currently in my number 4, but even that's kind of like it's kind of in that mid range somewhere.
Yeah, we said this before we got on today that our top 10 has been moving between me and him. My 5 through 9, I've shifted like 4 times while we were shooting the June review show. Brian's is always fluctuating. So it's like Life Chuck's my number 9 right now, but like earlier it was my 5. And then I was like, wait. And so like I think my top 4 are locked, but like 5 through 9 are just constantly changing. That's how strong this first half of the year has been. Going to my number 8, which I know is already on your list, I just don't know where, and is the movie we just talked about, which is F1. If you guys have just watched our June mass movie review, we talked about F1. Not quite as strong as Top Gun Maverick in terms of the visualization of the F1 racing, but it's still incredibly well done. Strong cast with Brad Pitt, oh my God, Carrie Condon, Javier Bardem, Damien Idris?
Damson Idris.
Definitely brings you into the life of the F1 racing scene. It's just too many open-ended subplots that just really didn't need to be put into the film, that just kind of felt tangled, almost like like Brian said, there might be a director's cut out there somewhere where those scenes actually make sense, but in the movie that we got, they just kind of feel tacked on and added on for no real reason. But the movie is fun and enjoyable and definitely worth seeing on a big screen.
I don't know where to put this one. This one
where's it at right now?
It's one of my top 3. There are times I've had it at number 1. There are times I've had it at number 3. I can't decide where to put this movie because of those things like this. Like, I enjoyed the experience so much and I enjoyed the film, but there are a lot of those dangling threads and things like it kind of a little took away from it. Like, where were they going with this? Which is why it's a 4-star movie for me instead of a 5-star movie. But I still, just as a movie experience, I enjoyed it so much that it's toyed with number 1. I think right now it's probably 2 or 3. And I'll just leave it at that. For our full thoughts, go watch the other review.
Yeah. My 5, 6, and 7, I almost want to go like 5A, 5B, 5C. Because it's like,
well, then don't number them then. Just what's your next movie?
I hate even saying that this one's my 7, because it's like this one has been like 3 and now it's at 7. It's like it's been shuffling all around. It's Brian's number 1 most disappointing film of the year, Jurassic World Rebirth. Unlike Brian, and unlike apparently most people, I seem to be on an island.
That's a reminder, my disappointments were not ranked. It's just the last one I talked about.
Well, yeah. I feel like I'm on an island with just me and Kimberly, because we seem to be the 2 people that actually like this fucking movie. It seems like a lot of people aren't liking it so far, but granted, the movie's not out yet. I could get some people on my side here this weekend.
Coy Chandro thinks it's the best Jurassic World movie yet.
Who said that?
Coy.
Oh, did he? Yeah, but Coy doesn't like Jurassic Park, so that's just weird.
But he's the best Jurassic World movie.
Okay, all right. Then I can Jurassic World's still better. But I think it does kind of take it back to 1 in terms of like plot. Like it feels very much like a Lost World, Jurassic Park 3-esque kind of film. Even though I hate Jurassic Park 3, I think this does Jurassic Park 3 better than what Jurassic Park 3 was trying to do. I enjoyed the new cast. I thought Scarlett, Mahershala, and Jonathan Bailey all do a really good job. A lot of people complain about the first act being too slow. I think that it took its time in the first act to develop these characters and give us time with them to the point where I actually gave a crap about their survival through the rest of the film. I think they utilized the OG dinosaurs effectively in this without overusing them, except for the Velociraptor. He gets shortchanged. I think the new dinosaurs are solid. The D-Rex is still not a dinosaur. That's a fucking monster. But it doesn't overtake the film. It doesn't deviate the film like the Spinosaurus did, or the Dominus Rex, or the Indoraptor. I think visually everything looks good. There's nothing that outright looks bad. The only real negatives I have for the movie, for me personally, is the teenage kids in the movie. I think the little girl is good. I think the dad of the family side of the story is really good. It's the teenage daughter and the teenage boyfriend that I just really couldn't get behind. Mainly the teenage daughter. The teenage boyfriend is an enigma because you can't decide whether you want to hate him or like him throughout the whole fucking movie. And then there's another character that I'm not going to say because it's spoilery, but Brian hates that character, but I actually enjoyed that character. But for me, I really like Jurassic World. It rejuvenated me into the franchise that I thought was dying with Dominion, and I enjoyed it.
My number 8, because we already did my Life with Chuck was my 4, and F1 is somewhere in the top 3. Going back down my list, number 8, Thunderbolts. I'm not going to say asterisk. I'm not going to call it the fucking New Avengers because it's not the fucking New Avengers. It's Thunderbolts.
It's definitely Thunderbolts.
Yeah. This is a movie that didn't blow me away, but it delivered on everything I wanted it to be. It was, it took a lot of supporting characters from the other films and kind of thrust them together in a spotlight in kind of a, a ragtag team of misfits, kind of like, a Suicide Squad kind of thing. And it worked for me, mostly because I think I like all these actors. I think that I love the chemistry between them. I think they work well together. If I have one disappointment, it's actually in Sentry, because I like Lewis Pullman and I liked him as Bob. When he became Sentry, I was kind of like, I was a little underwhelmed by that. And then, as you said, spoiler alert, the big climax movie will be like, you know what, you just need a hug. Okay, we're all good now. I thought that was just a lame way to wrap it up. But up until then, because of the characters, because of the interaction, because of the chemistry, because of some of the action scenes they had, I really liked it, and so it did just enough to make it to my number 8 on the list for the year.
Yeah, I enjoyed Thunderbolts for what it was. I will say, outside of character deaths, this is easily the most depressing Marvel film to date. Yeah. It is depressing as shit. But,
and again, it's like, let's take this MCU film and make it a story, focusing on, depression and mental illness. Like, can we just make entertaining movies again?
It was still entertaining. I like the cast. I think Florence Pugh, it was great. I'm glad that she was kind of more the main character and she wasn't, saddled as a side character like she's been so far. I'm glad that we're elevating her into an upper status character. I think Red Guardian was fun. Obviously, I'm always down for some Bucky. I don't think it did what they were hoping for with Special Agent or U.S. Agent and Ghost. I mean, I like Russell, but I don't think it elevated him any further than where he was already at. Bob, I agree, Bob was fun, but Sentry was but yeah, I enjoyed Thunderbolts. It just didn't crack my top 10. But yeah, Florence Pugh was great, and so was David Harbour. But yeah. My next one, I don't know if it's on your list or not, because I know I liked it more than you, and that is Mission Impossible Final Reckoning.
That was next up.
Okay, so I love this franchise. Brian and I both love this franchise. Say what you will about the first act, that shit didn't bother me. I didn't care about them kind of catching everyone up for the people who hadn't seen the movie before. But if, like I said, if you're coming in this movie from the eighth one and not knowing what's going on, fuck you. But if you did, it covered the bases. I think the action set pieces were still real good. I love that they brought a certain character back and kind of gave them their due. It has the emotional weight because of one special character. I think it also helped elevate Haley Atwell's character from the first film. Same with Palm Clementif. I really, really enjoyed this final outing. If it is the final one, which we still don't quite know, I think it ended strongly. I loved, even though Brian wasn't a fan of it, I loved the submarine mission. I thought that looked great on the big screen. I just had a lot of fun with Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and I think that it ended the franchise on a really good note.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's my number, I guess, 7 then for the year so far. I would have liked to have had it higher. I think that the movie was a little bloated. Like I said, there was so much of that first part, which was like, kind of recap and catch people up. I think that some of the sequences, well, most of the sequences went on longer than they needed to. They kind of stretched them out. I think the movie the whole thing was very dour and super serious, where these other ones have managed to balance it better with some fun. And this one has moments, but for the most part, this one's very, very serious. And like I said, in the action, like the biplane stunt, for instance, people rave about it. I'm just like, I think the Tom Cruise stunts, I'm just kind of over them. I'm just like, they hype them up so much, and it's like, okay, I wasn't that impressed by it. But I did enjoy the movie mostly because of, again, the characters. Like you, I like that they gave more to Haley Atwell and to Pom Klementieff. I really enjoyed them, and it did kind of wrap it up pretty well. Assuming they don't try to continue it more after this, who knows what they'll do.
Have you seen that people think that Rebecca Ferguson was alive and at the very last shot of the movie?
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, when Ethan's walking off, away from everyone else, there's a woman that walks up next to him that just looks like a person in the crowd, but they're saying like the back of her head looks how Rebecca Ferguson's hair looks. Like, she's alive. I'm like, guys, like, I get that we all want her to be alive, but come on.
Yeah,
there are people. What's that?
Maybe it's her twin sister, Carrie Condon.
I mean, good for Tom or Ethan at that point. All right, I've got my 5. You got 5 left, right?
Left?
Yeah.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you already talked about Life of Chuck, and we already talked about F1.
Yeah. So you've got 4 left, and I've got 4.
I got 4 left, yeah.
Okay. My number 5, I know you're going to be talking about, and that is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Fuck you, it's just Ballerina. Ana de Armas comes in and not takes over for John Wick, but basically gives us the female version of John Wick. I think she does what?
No, I was counting. Ballerina's my number 4. I realized Life of Chuck, I kept saying it was 4. It's actually my 5. Sorry.
Okay, I thought you were trying to get my attention.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Gotcha. I think Ana de Armas does a great job in this. The action set pieces are awesome. There's so many holy shit moments. I love that she's not just a straight up carbon copy of John Wick. Her fight style is different. Her weapons of choices are different. I mean, she still uses guns, but she's also really fucking good with grenades. The world building, I think, much like a lot of the John Wick, is expanded. I really enjoyed what we got out of this. Now, the addition of John Wick in the third act, not so much. I think that this movie could have done itself on its own terms without having John in it. Now, at the very, very beginning with John, to show you just time frame where we're at, I was fine with that. The whole third act of John Wick being in the movie, I think, was unnecessarily needed. I hope we get more of this. I want to see more of Ana de Armas as this character. I want to see more of the Ballerina world. I really had a fun time with Ballerina.
Yeah, we have a whole review. You can go watch this, but I agree with everything Sean said. I love this movie. I thought it was fun. I thought the action was great. I think they should have not had Keanu in it in any meaningful role. Just little, like you said, kind of establish the time frame. They could have a little, that one scene where they talk is fine, but the whole third act he didn't need to be in, and it almost detracted from it for me. But yeah, love it. Loved her. Want to see her show up either in her own other movie, which probably won't happen, but maybe in a John Wick movie. I still say let her team up with Halle Berry, Sophia. Love to see that. Just give me something. But yeah, this is very good. My number 4. Yeah. So then we both have
I still have to go. I'm powering through, guys. I feel my voice is going, so bear with me if I'm going shorter on my talk than I normally am. My number 4. Normally, I don't put these in my movie rankings because while they are a movie, they're not a movie. But this one was just too fucking good not to put on my list, and that is the documentary "Wick is Pain."
I actually was going to list that as my honorable mention, but I decided not to bother. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, normally I'll put a documentary as honorable mention, so that way I can have movies be in this. But "Wick is Pain" is so fucking good that it's my number 4. It's basically the documentary of the John Wick franchise. It is awesome. It does a great job of telling you just how close we were to not getting the John Wick movies to begin with. Spends a little too much time on the relationship between Chris
Chad Stahelski and David Leitch.
Yeah, so there's a little too much time on that to the point
That's
where
my favorite part of it.
I think I loved how long it took for them to get John Wick off the ground. But like once it started going to like their like personal lives, like divorces and shit, I was like, all right, let's keep it on task here with John Wick, because I felt like it didn't give enough time to John Wick 2, 3, and 4.
Well, I agree. This should have been a 5-part documentary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is awesome. Keanu is such a big factor in this documentary too, and it just once again shows you how awesome of a person Keanu Reeves is. Just a ton of fun, and I love this documentary so much.
I loved it as well. Like I said, let's put it as an honorable mention for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my next action movie, you actually listed, I think, as an honorable mention, Companion.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, Companion's a movie that I went in with really no expectations for it, because we have all these like kind of mid-budget, I guess you'd call it horror, sci-fi, whatever you call it. There's a lot of those kind of things coming out lately. This one had Jack Quaid in it, was probably the only real name I knew. Well, Rupert Friend is in it. And there's other people I'd seen. Like I'd seen Lucas Gage, but like I hadn't seen Sophie Thatcher, except for was this before or after? Heretic was last year, right?
You saw her in Heretic. You saw her in Boogeyman. And then
I didn't remember her in Boogeyman, and I know she's on Yellow Jackets, but I don't watch that show.
And she was also in Boba Fett.
She was
one of the She's one of the biker gang.
Oh, the fucking scooter gang! Oh god damn it! I blocked that out.
Yeah. So you've seen her a lot.
I have seen her, but I didn't really know her. I watched this movie. I just loved the concept of it. I loved the style of it, the way it's filmed. I love the way the story unfolded. I love the relationships between the characters. Like we have Lucas Gage and Harvey Gillen, the other couple with the gay couple, where one of them is actually a companion. I loved the way that relationship worked, and just I think everybody played their characters so well, and it just kind of kept you, I don't want to say kept you guessing, but it kept you interested the whole movie, like every twist and turn, every kind of the next step where the story went. I really enjoyed it, and this is just a movie that I would never have thought, oh, this is going to win my top 10, but here it is, at least for the first half of the year, in my top 6, 7. I liked it.
I also cannot hear "You're My Little Boo Thing" without immediately thinking of this movie. Every time I hear that song, I'm seeing like Jack Quaid in the dinosaur costume dancing. Like
I also love seeing, because Jack Quaid always kind of he kind of usually plays the same kind of character. He's kind of this guy, kind of neurotic and in over his head, whether it be Novocaine or whether it be the boys or whatever. He kind of is playing the same character. But in this one, he does that for a while until you realize he's actually flipping. He's playing like the asshole. He's basically the villain of the movie. So
I mean, he did the same thing in Scream 5 too.
Yeah, I guess.
Companion is a lot of fun. I knew most of this cast beforehand, so I enjoyed watching them all kind of have their own movie. I think they all shine in their own individual roles. Totally did not know until I watched Jurassic World that Rupert Friend was the Russian dude.
Mm-hmm.
Totally did not even see that. But yeah, Sophie Thatcher is an actress that I've been keeping my eye on for a while now, and I'm enjoying her and everything that she's done, except for Boba Fett, but that's not her fault. That's just the show's not that great. But yeah, Companion is a ton of fun, and I really, really enjoyed that. My number 3, I know is on your list. So you talked about it earlier, which was your most surprising, which is Predator, Killer of Killers. I did not know what to expect with an animated Predator film, and what we got was better than I expected. After Prey happened, I think everyone was like, cool, we saw Predator with Native Americans. I want to see Predators in the Knights in the Middle Ages. I want to see the Predator here. I want to see the Predator here. And I think Dan Trachtenberg was like, I want to do that. I probably can't afford to do that all in live action, so let's fucking do it in animated, because I can get away with it that way.
And he can do it like this kind of anthology, even though they're connected, instead of trying to do a full film of each one.
Yeah, so instead we get kind of 4 20-minute episodes of the Predator in Japan, the Predator in World War II, the Predator in Viking times, and each different kinds of predators, each unique in their own kind of fighting styles and weaponry in the worlds that they're at that point. And I think the voice cast is great. The animation style is fucking awesome. The brutality of it all looks great. I hope they continue with this. I would love to see a fucking Predator in Sparta. Give me a 300 versus the Predator. That'd be fucking sick. This opened up a whole new level of the Predator that I think a lot of people were hoping for with Prey, but I don't think that we all ever thought we were actually going to get it. And Predator Killer of Killers is giving that to us, and I hope it is something that they continue with. And there's so many people who don't know about this movie because it's a Hulu movie that Brian and I cannot speak highly enough that this is a must watch for anyone who's a fan of the Alien Predator franchise, especially leading into Badlands, because of the very, very end of it, that it does tie into the live action. This was a wildly huge surprise and one of the best films of the year.
Yeah, this is maybe my number one of the year so far. I don't know where to put this movie. It's definitely top three. This is one of the three. They keep saying they're constantly switching places. Because, I mean, it is this animated Hulu movie, but that doesn't make it less of a movie. I mean, I loved every minute of this thing. And I put on my surprises because I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. And, getting to see the Predator go up against all these different things. I think we were talking about how it's like Predator crossed with Deadliest Warrior.
Yes, in the best way possible.
The best possible way. Yeah. Because I loved everything we saw in the movie. I think that the action is done better than most live action movies. I think that it expanded the lore of the Predator better than any other film in the franchise has. And I kind of like where it appears to be going. So looking forward to more in the future.
All right, we can only hope that Badlands stays on the same path that this is going. Because nothing's going to derail this more if Badlands is doing its own thing. Because then it feels like...
Well, I don't know if Badlands will... I don't know if Badlands will tie into this because they don't want to have people have to have watched this Hulu animated thing to follow this movie. But I could see them taking from the end of Badlands and having that tie back into the animated one. So like one can rely on the other, but not the other way around kind of thing.
I just don't want Badlands feeling like a totally different concept of what we're getting, because then it's going to be like, so what's Badlands to the rest of the Predator franchise then? Like, I don't want it to feel like this outlier that's just sitting out over here, and then everything else is like here. But I mean, it's on Predator Island. It looks like the planet, at least what the trailer gave away. So who knows? But we're very, very high on Predator Badlands now because of this movie. My number two, I know you don't have because you have not watched it yet. I literally just talked about it on our last video, and that is How to Train Your Dragon. Like I said, I love the animated franchise. I think it's great. I think this live adaptation builds on the greatness of the animated franchise and actually improves on it by giving the actors more time to develop their characters outside of the animated voices. I feel like they are given enough time, so I don't see the animated voices anymore. I'm seeing these actors portray these characters. I think Toothless looks fantastic. I think the story is incredibly well done. Like I said, How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favorite animated franchises. So to take that, build on it with live action, and somehow make it better, I could not be any more happier with what we got out of the movie. Yeah.
And we have the same last film, obviously.
Yes. I know it's my number one, but you said what was it on your ranking? Because I know it's not.
Well, it's one of my top three. I think if I was going to rank them right now, I'd say F1, Predator, and this. But that may just because I just got to see F1 and like the T-Box experience, which made it kind of more fun. So, but Sinners, it's Sinners. I just gave it away.
Yes,
Sinners are final. It's not going to surprise anybody. It's at times been my number one, so I don't know where to put it yet. But it's my top three, and it's your number one. Go ahead.
You're gonna have to give me a consensus top 10 so I can make the
I know.
You gotta stop jumping around. Give me a consensus. Here it is right now for Brian. But yeah, Sinners is our number one film of the year so far. It's my first 5-star film, I think, since Godzilla -1. I think because I don't think there was a single movie last year that got a 5-star for me. So Sinners, I think we were both highly anticipating this, me probably more so than you, because of Ryan Coogler, because of Michael B. Jordan, and because of how the trailers were predicting it. And even still, I was still blown away and surprised by how fucking amazing this movie was. Even to the point that the one part that you don't like, I actually do like, which is
that's what keeps it a 4.5 for me instead of 5.
See, I was bought in on that whole thing. I loved it. I think cinematography, this movie looks fucking gorgeous. I think script, gorgeous. Cast, amazing. The story, so great. And just like I said with Jurassic World Rebirth, even though it's not the same thing, this movie takes its time. We don't jump into vampire shit right away. We are living in this world with Smoke and Stack and everyone else, and Preacher's son or Preacher's kid, or blinking on what is the actual name, Preacher Boy or whatever the hell we calling him. I love that we got to live in the lives of these characters for about a good hour before shit hits the fan, and it's just so well done that by the time the shit does hit the fan, we really do give a damn whether these characters live or die. Delroy Lindo, one of my favorite underrated actors working in Hollywood today. He's great in this movie. There's not a single complaint that I have about this film. It's going to be very, very hard for me to find a movie that's going to trump it this year. I love this movie. I've rewatched it multiple times, and each time I'm still feeling just as strong about it as I did the first time I saw it. Easily, hands down, best film of the year for me.
You seem to be forgetting that the movie from your favorite franchise, The Smurfs, is coming out, so that'll probably trump it. So.
For my favorite franchise, fuck you.
I was trying to quickly think of a bad movie that's coming out. Yeah, no, I love this movie. I'm not like when I hear Ryan Coogler or Michael B. Jordan, those don't necessarily sell me on a film. I'm like, I like them, I think they're good, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for the next Ryan Coogler film. So I wasn't anticipating this as much as Sean was, but they're both definitely extremely talented, and they put out a lot of really good work. It's just not, they don't excite me the way some other people do. But yeah, this movie, everything about this movie works except for that scene with the anachronistic music and dance and stuff like that.
This is your In the Heights moment.
This is my In the Heights moment.
I love In the Heights, except for this one musical number, and that's the only reason why this movie's not as perfect as it is.
It's for me, because this is different than that for me, just because like this, if there was anything else in the movie that implied or tied into this whole idea, then it makes sense. But instead, it's like this one random thing thrown in the middle that you're like, wait, what the fuck? What this? And it never is addressed before that, never addressed after that.
I think it does. I think it does do that because I think it's through the visual of the vampire, seeing that his voice could go through the ages of music, and that's kind of what they're doing. I think that's what he's perceiving outside looking in, which is why it's fire at the end of it. I think it's all from the eyes of I'm blanking on the vampire's name. But I think that's
the past, but I don't know how you see the future, but we'll just get over that. But no, the performance in this was great. I think that the twin thing was pulled off perfect. It's so like cool. This and Social Network are the two movies that managed to pull it off to the fact where if you did not know the actor, you'd be like, oh, I assume they were real twins, because it was done super well. Haley Steinfeld I loved in this movie, even if they gave everything away for her in the trailers.
Not all the way because they couldn't because of language and stuff, but
well, not all the way.
Haley opened up a door for so many people who didn't realize who Haley Steinfeld was. Like Haley has now become like this whole other kind of actress now because of this movie. People are looking at her in a way different way now,
right?
In a good way, not in a bad way.
But yeah, no, I agree with everything Sean said. This is a great movie, and it's we'll call it my number 3 for the moment, but it's top 1 worthy. So
anyway, that is the first half of 2025. Our best, our worst, our most surprising, our most disappointing. Let us know, what are your guys' best films of the year, worst films of the year? What surprised you? What disappointed you? Let us know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, with the follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we probably won't be back until Superman. In about a week and a half. We know we've got Heads of State on Prime and Old Guard 2 on Netflix coming out this weekend, but we're probably gonna hold those off for the end of July review dump. But we will be back here in about a week and a half for Superman review, and then probably Fantastic Four after that. But yeah, like I said, we Jurassic World Rebirth comes out this weekend, but we have already shot the review and put it on the channel. So if you guys have watched it, we have the spoiler conversation on there as well. Please don't watch that if you guys have not watched Jurassic World yet. Don't spoil yourselves before you see that movie. But yeah, and we, like I said, our previous June movie review number, we talked about How to Train a Dragon F1, which we basically just did right here as well, and other movies are all on that video. But we will be back here in about a week and a half for Superman. Here's hoping that the second half of 2025 is just as strong, if not stronger, as this first half. We will see if something can knock off Sinners off my list or Predator Killer of Killers for Brian on his list. But we hope you guys enjoyed it. We are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrug. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.